The first time my mother asked Tyler to repeat the date, he smiled. That smile was what I remembered later, not Dad's credit card statement spread between the salt shaker and the bowl of cooling green beans. Not the $6,480 charge circled so hard the paper had almost torn. Not even my brother saying he had seen me take a picture of Dad's card. It was Tyler's smile, patient, almost pitying, as if Mom were having trouble keeping up. March 9th, he said, after Dad's cardiology appointment. Mom's hand stopped halfway to her water glass. What date? March 9th. No. Her voice came out softer. Say it again. Tyler glanced at me, expecting me to be the one who cracked. March 9th, Mom. That Monday. Dad looked from Tyler to me. His face was red above the collar, and the vein near his left temple kept jumping. 5 minutes earlier, he had asked me why my brother would invent something that specific. Not whether Tyler might be lying, why he would. Mom lowered her hand to the table. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then her eyes found mine, and I knew she remembered. I also knew, before she said another word, that remembering the truth and defending me would be 2 different decisions. 5 weeks earlier, I was on my knees in my parents' kitchen, trying to locate the source of a smell that turned out to be 3 potatoes liquefying in a plastic bag. You can't keep produce in the dark for 6 months and expect it to remain emotionally stable, I told Mom. She stood at the counter in a cream sweater she had owned since the first Bush administration, scrolling through her phone with one finger. They were not there 6 months. One of the potatoes collapsed when I lifted the bag. Then they've had a very difficult February. Dad laughed from the breakfast table. He laughed harder than the joke deserved, which made him cough, which made Mom glare at me as if I had tickled a man during surgery. Martin, drink your water. I am drinking it. You're looking at it. I'm building anticipation. My father had been doing that since his cardiologist told him his heart needed less sodium, more movement, and several medications whose names he pretended not to know. He would line the pills beside his coffee mug, study them like suspicious witnesses, and then take them only after Mom asked twice. If I asked, he took them the first time. That was one of the small powers I had in our family. I could get Dad to swallow pills, Mom to reset passwords, and Tyler to return calls by texting him that something was not urgent, which he always interpreted as a possible inheritance dispute. My name was on the pharmacy account, the cardiologist's release form, the cable bill, and a yellow sticky note taped inside the kitchen cabinet that said, "If we both die, call Rachel before Tyler." Mom had written it as a joke, mostly. I tied the potato bag shut and stood, my knees making sounds I felt were inappropriate for 38. "Your appointment got moved," Mom said. I was washing my hands. "What appointment?" "Your father's. Dr. Patel's office called. They need him Monday the 9th instead of Thursday." I looked at Dad. "What time?" 11:15, he said, because unlike Mom, he understood that appointment changes were not weather reports. They required action. I reached for my phone, then stopped. Monday the 9th was the second day of my trip to Denver. The trip had been planned for 4 months, paid for in December, and discussed so many times that Dad had started calling it my expedition. My friend Denise had a conference there and a hotel room with 2 beds. Her exact sales pitch had been, fly out, look at mountains, eat expensive eggs, and let one full weekend happen without somebody asking you to print something. I had almost said no anyway. 4 days away from work meant 4 days of leaving my assistant manager in charge of a dental office where one hygienist cried when the label printer jammed. 4 days away from my parents meant 4 days in which Dad could decide a dull ache was probably nothing, and Mom could lock herself out of her email while trying to forward a recipe. Still, I had bought the ticket. Now Mom watched me with her thumb resting on the appointment reminder. "I'll call the airline," I said. Dad set down his coffee. "No, it's fine." "If I explain, you're not canceling a vacation because a doctor moved a date. It's not a vacation. It's 4 days in a city where Denise has meetings. That sounds like a vacation designed by you." Mom gave a small sigh. "No one said she had to cancel." You made the face, Dad told her. I did not make a face. The martyr face. I have one face, Martin. Dad looked at me. That is not remotely true. I bit the inside of my cheek, but Mom saw. I can take him, she said. I do possess a driver's license. I know. And a car. I know that too. The way the two of you talk, you'd think I wander the neighborhood with a butter churn. Mom could drive. What she hated was parking in the cardiology garage because the lanes were narrow and the ticket machine required her to lean out the window. Dad couldn't walk far from the upper levels, and Mom refused to use valet parking on the grounds that a 19-year-old might change all her radio presets. I'll reschedule the trip, I said. Dad shook his head. Rachel. There were tones families built over decades. That one meant he was no longer participating in the debate. Mom's phone rang on the counter. Tyler's name lit the screen beside a photo of him wearing sunglasses indoors. Mom answered immediately. Hi, sweetheart. Dad looked at me over the rim of his mug. I looked back. Neither of us said anything. Mom turned away, lowering her voice even though Tyler could not see the potatoes. No, we're just here. Rachel stopped by. I had stopped by with groceries, replaced a furnace filter, sorted 2 insurance letters, and discovered a new life form beneath the sink. But in my family, labor became visiting if I performed it. Mom listened, then brightened. Actually, that would be wonderful. I knew before she turned around. Tyler says he can take Dad Monday. Dad's eyebrows rose. Through the phone, I could hear my brother saying something in an animated rush. He has a flexible morning, Mom added. What does that mean? Dad asked. Mom covered the microphone. It means he can take you. It means he's unemployed, Dad said. He is not unemployed. His hours have been adjusted. Tyler worked in commercial flooring sales. According to Tyler, every bad quarter was caused by interest rates, supply chains, timid clients, or a personal vendetta held by someone named Brent. He had recently moved into a townhouse with his fiancée, Mallory, and told us the promotion he was expecting would more than cover the rent. I held out my hand for the phone. Mom ignored it. That's very thoughtful, she told Tyler. Your sister was about to throw away an entire trip. I wasn't throwing it away. Mom waved me silent. Tyler's voice got louder. He enjoyed being praised at a volume everyone could hear. Yes, 11:15, Mom said. You'll need to pick him up by 10:15. 10, really? And the recliner store called. It's ready. Dad made a face. The cardiologist had recommended a chair that would help him get up without straining, which Dad considered a medical conspiracy to make his living room ugly. I don't need a launch pad, he said. You got stuck in the brown chair Tuesday, Mom replied. I was resting. You yelled for a spatula. I had a plan. Mom went back to Tyler. We'll discuss it Monday. Thank you, sweetheart. This helps more than you know. After she hung up, she looked at me as if the matter had been resolved through diplomacy rather than the existence of her other adult child. There. Go to Denver. I wanted to feel relieved. Instead, I felt the peculiar anxiety of watching someone else carry a glass I had always been told only I could hold. Does he know where the office is? He has a phone. Dad's insurance card is in the blue folder. The medication list was updated last month. But the dosage on the... Rachel, Dad said. Mountains. Mom smiled, but there was a small triumph in it. We will survive 4 days. I dried my hands. I never said you wouldn't. Nobody answered that, which told me they had all heard what I meant. Tyler called me that evening while I was closing the office. I was in the supply room counting boxes of nitrile gloves because our inventory software insisted we had -3. Mom says you're fleeing the state, he said. I'm going to Denver. Same thing, emotionally. You're taking Dad Monday? Apparently, I'm the chosen son. You're the available son. Ouch! I could hear a television behind him in the hollow echo of the townhouse. Tyler and Mallory had been there less than a month. Every time Mom visited, she returned with a report about their vaulted ceiling, new countertops, an astonishing number of electrical outlets. I leaned against a shelf. His appointment is at 11:15, but he'll try to convince you that means arriving at 11:14. I've met Dad. He needs the blue folder. Blue folder. Don't let him order lunch at that bar across from the hospital. I'm sorry, are you asking me to deny a grown man mozzarella sticks? I'm asking you not to spend the afternoon in the emergency room because he thinks cardiology appointments earn him fried cheese. Tyler laughed. For a moment, he sounded like the brother who used to slide the larger half of a cookie onto my plate when he thought no one was looking. Relax, he said. I can handle one day. The sentence should have comforted me. Instead, I looked at the handwritten list already forming beneath my palm. I know you can. You don't sound convinced. I'm trying to be helpful. You're trying to stay in charge from Colorado. There was humor in his voice, but something harder underneath it. I straightened. If you don't want the information, I'll stop. Rachel, come on. Don't do that. Do what? That thing where you make a basic conversation feel like I've failed a background check. I closed my eyes. Pick Dad up at 10. Bring the folder. That's the whole background check. All right. Done. Enjoy your artisanal wilderness. When the call ended, I stood in the supply room listening to the fluorescent light buzz above me. On Friday, I packed my suitcase. On Saturday morning, Mom texted to ask where Dad's compression socks were. They were in his second dresser drawer where they had been for 11 months. I typed the answer, deleted it, and called her instead. Mom answered on the first ring. They're not in his drawer. They're in the second drawer on the left. I'm standing in front of it. Move the gray sweatpants. There was rustling, followed by a noise of vindication. They were under the sweatpants. Yes. Well, then they weren't visible. Dad called from somewhere behind her. Tell Rachel I've decided to stop compressing. You will compress, Mom said. I'm a free man. You're a swollen man. I sat on the edge of my bed with one sneaker on. My open suitcase took up most of the floor, and I had already packed 3 sweaters for a 4-day trip because Denver's weather forecast seemed to have been written by a committee with unresolved personal issues. Is everything else okay? I asked. Everything is fine. Did the pharmacy fill the new prescription? I picked it up yesterday. The small white pills are for morning. I read the bottle, Rachel. I know. Your father was wearing those awful plaid pajamas when I opened the drawer. I became distracted. From the other room, Dad said, "They were a gift from your son." "He hates them too," Mom shouted back. I smiled despite myself. "Do you need anything before I go?" "No. Tyler is coming Monday, and I am perfectly capable of getting through the weekend. Please don't stop here on the way to the airport. I wasn't planning to. You were considering it. I was considering whether I left my charger in your kitchen. You didn't. How do you know?" "Because I'm looking at it." "Of course she was. I'll pick it up." "No, I'll put it in Tyler's car when he comes. He can give it to you when you get back." This was how my mother proved she did not need help. She turned the return of a phone charger into a relay event involving 3 households. "Just keep it there," I said. "I have another one. You shouldn't buy things you already own. I didn't buy it this morning. I've had 2 chargers for years." There was a pause in which I could hear her rearranging her opinion. "Well," she said, "have a safe flight." When we hung up, I stayed on the bed for another minute. It felt unnatural to leave with no last-minute grocery run, no frozen casserole labeled with oven instructions, no spare house key pressed into Denise's hand as though I were deploying overseas. I zipped my suitcase and immediately unzipped it to add aspirin. Denise picked me up Sunday morning wearing enormous sunglasses and drinking coffee from a cup the size of a flower pot. She was 41, divorced, and had spent the last year treating every minor inconvenience as evidence that she should move to Portugal. "You brought a carry-on," she said when I rolled my suitcase toward her car. "I'm proud of you. It expands. That's less inspiring." She opened the trunk. Inside were 2 suitcases, a garment bag, a tote, and what appeared to be a portable steamer. "You're gone 3 nights. I contain multitudes. You contain a department store." At the airport, she made me turn my phone to airplane mode before we had boarded. I turned it back on while she was buying water. Mom had not texted. That should have relaxed me. Instead, I checked whether my phone had service. You know they can call 911 without you, Denise said, appearing beside me. I'm aware. And your father is not alone. I'm aware. And your brother is a full adult. I slid my phone into my purse. Your tone suggests uncertainty. My tone suggests I've met Tyler. The flight was uneventful, which left me too much time to imagine events. Dad becoming dizzy on the stairs, Mom dropping her phone in the sink, Tyler forgetting the appointment and waking at noon to 19, missed calls. Every scenario ended with someone saying, "We didn't want to bother you," after bothering me much more effectively by withholding information. Denver was bright and dry, the mountains distant enough to look decorative. Denise had a dinner for conference speakers that evening, so I walked around downtown alone, bought a sandwich that cost $18, and sat near the window watching people go places without carrying anyone else's schedule in their heads. Mom called at 8:30 Ohio time. "I'm not checking on you," she said. "Good evening to you too. I wanted to make sure your flight wasn't delayed. If it had been, I'd still be in the air." "That's not necessarily true." "Mom, your father wants to know if you can see the mountains." I could hear him say, "I did not ask that." "Yes," I said, "I can see them. Are they nice?" "They're mountains." Dad got on the phone. "Your mother says Tyler should pick me up at 9:30. 10 is fine." That's what I said. I said 10 so you'd actually leave by 10:15. You've become manipulative. I learned from experts. He lowered his voice. "If Tyler doesn't show, I'm driving myself. You are not. I can drive. You brake like the car has betrayed you. My foot gets stiff," which is not an argument in your favor. He laughed, then coughed. I waited through the cough without speaking. We had an agreement that I would not react to every cough, and he had an agreement that he would not pretend they didn't happen. "I'll be fine," he said. "I know." That night, I woke at 2 and checked my phone. Nothing. At 7, there was a message from Mom. "Tyler is here early. Miracles continue." Under it was a photograph of Dad in the driveway wearing his brown coat and holding the blue folder. Tyler stood beside him grinning, one hand on Dad's shoulder. The image was slightly blurred because Mom's finger had covered part of the lens. I zoomed in on the folder as if I needed proof. Then I noticed what Dad had on his feet. I called. Mom answered in a whisper. "They just left. He's wearing loafers. He refused the sneakers. He's going to have to walk through the hospital," I told him. "Those loafers have no grip." I told him that too. "Why didn't you? Do you think I have a tranquilizer dart?" I looked across the hotel room. Denise was asleep with a pillow over her head. "No," I whispered. "Then perhaps you can accept that I do not control your father's shoes. That seems like an area where you've historically shown ambition. Enjoy Denver." She hung up. At breakfast, Denise pushed a plate of eggs toward me and said, "You look like you've already attended a meeting." "Loafers." "Excuse me?" "My dad wore loafers to his appointment." She stared at me over her coffee. "I have no idea how to respond at the level of concern you're seeking. I'm not seeking concern. You called your mother about shoes from 1,400 miles away. They're slippery. Were the mountains consulted?" I changed the subject. At 11:14 Ohio time, Mom texted that they had arrived. At 11:30, she added that Tyler had forgotten to call her from the parking garage. At noon, she asked if I thought silence meant the doctor had found something. "It means the doctor is running late," I wrote. She sent back, "I know that." At 12:40, Tyler texted our family group. "All good. Old man remains annoyingly alive." Dad replied with a middle finger emoji he had learned to use specifically for Tyler. I felt my shoulders drop. Then Mom called. "What did the doctor say? They're still driving back. You said all good." That came from Tyler. "Didn't he tell you anything else?" He said, "Doctor. Patel is pleased, but your father needs to keep walking. Apparently walking from his chair to the refrigerator does not count. It depends how many trips. Don't encourage him." I heard a cabinet close. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Getting the card." "What card?" "Your father's credit card." Tyler is picking up the recliner. I sat straighter. The store takes payment over the phone. They said the remaining balance has to be paid when it's collected. How much is it? $589, including delivery. Delivery. I thought Tyler was picking it up. He's picking it out. They're delivering Thursday. That made more sense, though not enough to justify my pulse changing. Make sure he knows which card, I said. I am holding it in my hand. Dad has two that look the same. This is the blue one. The blue one is the rewards card. The silver one is the low-interest card. Rachel, it has his name on it and has not expired. That is the extent of my relationship with it. Fine. Do you want me to read you the numbers? No, because I can if that would make Colorado more relaxing. I heard the garage door opening through her phone. They're back, she said. I'll call you later. Mom, don't give it to Dad. He'll put it in his pocket and then... The line went dead. I put my phone face down. Denise had returned from her morning session and stood near the bathroom mirror, taking off her earrings. Did you just tell your mother how to hand someone a credit card? No. She waited. Yes. How many emergencies have occurred? None. And how much of Denver have you seen? I saw a man riding a scooter with a parrot. That was outside the hotel. It was still culturally meaningful. She tossed an earring onto the dresser. I have the afternoon free. We're going to the art museum, and if your family calls, I'm answering. You'd tell them I was dead. I'd tell them you were having your portrait painted. Mom didn't call while we were at the museum. She sent updates instead. Chair selected. Your father complained about every fabric. Tyler was very patient with him. That last one irritated me in a way I couldn't defend. Tyler could be patient. Tyler could also become a hero by surviving 40 minutes of the same behavior I handled every week without witnesses. At 4:16, Mom sent a picture of the receipt on her kitchen table. It showed $589.43 paid on Martin Mercer's Visa. The last four digits matched the card Dad used for household expenses. Behind the receipt, barely visible, was my phone charger. I replied with a thumbs up. Tyler called that evening while Denise and I were waiting for a table at a restaurant with hanging plants and chairs designed to punish posture. Dad lived, he said. I heard. He made me stop at that bar. You let him eat mozzarella sticks? He had 3. 3 orders. 3 sticks. I'm reckless, not suicidal. The hostess waved us forward, but Denise gestured that she would wait. How was the appointment? I asked. Boring. Patel says he's doing better. Did they change anything? One of the pills. Which one? The small one. They're all small. There was a lot of medical vocabulary, Rach. I'm a flooring professional. I thought your hours were adjusted. They are. I remain spiritually employed. He sounded cheerful, lighter than he had during our last call. Did you return Dad's card? I asked. There was a beat. Wow. What? Nothing. It's impressive. What's impressive? You've been gone one day and you're still auditing me. I asked if you returned a card. Yes. I returned the sacred card. Mom has it. Dad has his hideous throne coming Thursday. The Republic stands. I wasn't accusing you. I know. That's the great part. You never accuse anyone. You just ask questions until they feel accused. The hostess looked at us again. Denise mouthed, "Hang up." Thanks for taking him, I said. Tyler softened immediately. Hey, seriously, it was fine. You should do this more often. Interrogate you? Leave. The word landed differently than he intended. He must have heard the silence because he rushed to fill it. I mean, travel. Take time. Let other people do stuff. I'm trying. I know. In the background, Mallory called his name. Gotta go, he said. We're measuring for appliances. I thought the townhouse came with appliances. Technically, if you enjoy refrigerators built during the Clinton administration, must be contagious. What? Mom's sweater. He laughed. Enjoy the mountains, control freak. Good night, spiritual employee. On Thursday, Dad's new recliner arrived. On Friday, I went over to retrieve my charger and found him asleep in it with a blanket tucked under his chin. Mom stood in the doorway smiling like she had personally invented comfort. Tyler's visit had already become family folklore. He had found the correct hospital entrance. He had made Dad laugh in the waiting room. He had negotiated free delivery on the chair, though the receipt showed a $75 delivery fee. I let that detail go. The blue credit card sat in Dad's wooden organizer beside his reading glasses and 2 pens that didn't work. I noticed it only because my charger was underneath the organizer's cord. I picked up the charger. I did not touch the card. I put the charger in my purse and went into the living room. Dad opened one eye. "You came all the way over here to steal electronics?" "It's my charger. That's what people say when they're stealing electronics." Mom adjusted the blanket over his legs. "She bought it. You're taking her side already." "I've seen the receipt." I looked at her. "You have not seen the receipt for my phone charger. I'm making a point." Dad closed his eye again. Very compelling. The chair was uglier than it had looked online. Brown microfiber, wide padded arms, and a motor that raised Dad toward the ceiling at the speed of continental drift. He claimed to hate it, but his reading glasses were already on the side table, and his slippers were positioned neatly in front. "Try the button," Mom said to me. "I believe the button works. You need to see how smoothly it moves." She pressed it before I could refuse. The chair hummed, lifting Dad's feet. His eyes opened. "Janice. See? I'm sleeping. You're awake now. I've been abducted by furniture." Mom lowered him with the satisfaction of a woman docking a ship. I went into the kitchen to put away the groceries I had brought, despite being told not to bring anything. On the refrigerator was a picture Mom had printed from my trip. Denise and I stood outside the art museum, our hair blowing across our faces, both of us laughing because a stranger had taken 6 photographs while accidentally holding the phone in video mode. Mom had cropped Denise almost entirely out. "You look rested," she said behind me. "I was gone 4 days, not at a spa for a year. Still, it was good for you." I turned. "Are you saying I should travel more?" "I'm saying it was nice seeing Tyler take responsibility." There it was. A compliment for me that managed to end in my brother's lap. He took Dad to one appointment and picked out the chair. Dad picked out the chair. Your father rejected 11 chairs. Tyler guided him. I slid yogurt onto the top shelf. Then I'm glad he was there. You don't have to sound defensive. I'm putting away yogurt. You can do 2 things at once. It's one of your gifts. Dad called from the living room. She also brought the wrong crackers. Mom shouted back, "Then don't eat them. I was not going to." The package crinkled. I smiled at Mom. She almost smiled back. For a few seconds, we were simply 2 women in a kitchen listening to a man lie about crackers. Then her phone chimed. "Tyler and Mallory are having us over Sunday," she said. "He wants us to see the townhouse now that they're settled. I thought you'd already seen it. I saw it before they unpacked. So you've seen it. There were boxes. I understand how devastating that can be for a vaulted ceiling." She gave me a look. 6 o'clock. I'll check my schedule. On a Sunday? I'm allowed to possess a schedule on Sundays. Rachel, I'll be there. Sunday dinner at Tyler's had the careful quality of a furniture showroom after closing. The living room smelled like fresh paint and a candle called coastal linen, though Ohio's nearest coast was not one anyone wanted to smell like. Mallory had arranged cream pillows on a cream couch over a cream rug, and Tyler followed Dad around with a coaster. "Put it under the glass," he said. Dad looked down at his water. "It's water. It leaves rings. It's in a glass. The glass leaves rings." Dad held up his hand. "I've heard enough science." Mallory rescued the glass and set it on a side table with a coaster. She was 32, tall and soft-spoken, with dark curls she wore pinned up when she was nervous. She worked in event planning for a hotel and had the unsettling habit of remembering everyone's food preferences. There were no onions in the salad because Mom claimed they gave her headaches, and no rosemary on the chicken because Dad said it tasted like a Christmas tree. Mallory hugged me. "How was Denver?" "Beautiful. Did you hike?" "I walked from a restaurant to a bookstore." "That counts," Tyler said. "Altitude." He kissed Mallory's cheek as he passed. She leaned into it automatically, and something about the ease between them made me feel protective of both of them. They had been together 2 years. Tyler became more organized around her, or at least more ashamed of being disorganized. He returned borrowed tools. He stopped calling Mom from grocery store aisles. He bought a planner, though as far as I knew, he used it mostly to write down football games. The kitchen appliances were old but clean. The refrigerator had rounded white handles and made a low grinding noise every few minutes. "Listen to that," Tyler said as he carried in the chicken. "It's dying." Dad peered at it. "Sounds fine. It sounds like a lawnmower underwater. Then don't put it underwater. I'm replacing all of them." Mom ran her hand over the counter. "All?" "Eventually," Mallory said quickly. Tyler set down the platter. "We found a package deal. Fridge, range, dishwasher, washer, dryer." "That sounds expensive," Mom said. "It's not cheap." Dad opened the refrigerator. "Martin," Mom said, "I'm assessing. You're looking for beer. I can do 2 things at once. It's one of my gifts." I caught Mom's eye. She looked away so she wouldn't laugh. Inside the refrigerator were neatly labeled containers and exactly 2 beers. Dad took one. "How much?" he asked Tyler. "Retail?" "Around 8. Dad coughed into the refrigerator. "But nobody pays retail," Tyler added. "They're running a sale." Mallory lifted the salad bowl. "We don't have to do everything immediately." "The sale ends this week," Tyler said. She gave him a small look. Not anger, more like a reminder of a private conversation. He put his arm around her waist. "I've got it handled." Dad twisted the top off his beer. "You got that promotion?" "Soon. Soon isn't a position. My manager wants to wait until the end of the quarter. So no." "Martin," Mom warned. Tyler smiled, but his hand dropped from Mallory's waist. "You spent 32 years working at an auto plant. I sell construction materials during a housing slump. Different universe. Money's the same universe." "Dad," I said. He looked at me. "What?" "Leave it." Tyler reached for a beer. "It's fine." He thinks financial advice is a contact sport. I think buying $6,000 of appliances without $6,000 is stupid. "Good thing I didn't ask you." Mallory carried the salad toward the table. Her shoulders were high. Mom followed her. "Everything smells wonderful." The subject changed because we all helped it change. We sat. Tyler poured wine. Dad complimented the chicken, which meant peace had been declared without reparations. Halfway through dinner, Mallory mentioned a wedding venue she had toured for a client. Mom used that as an opening to ask whether she and Tyler had chosen their own date. "We're thinking next spring," Mallory said. "Spring is beautiful," Mom replied. "Rachel's cousin had those little flowering branches on every table. What were they?" "Expensive," Dad said. "Cherry blossoms. Expensive cherry blossoms." Tyler grinned at Mallory. "We're keeping it simple." Mallory smiled, but I saw her glance toward the kitchen. After dinner, while Tyler showed Dad the upstairs thermostat, I helped her carry plates. "You don't have to," she said. "I'm trying to earn my dinner. You brought dessert. Then I'm trying to earn a second piece." She rinsed a plate and handed it to me. The dishwasher door had to be lifted slightly before it would close. "It has character," I said. "It has vengeance." I slid the plate into the rack. Mallory lowered her voice. "Did Tyler tell you about the appliance package?" "He announced it. He gets excited." "Oh, he does. He had some money put aside. I told him we could wait, but the refrigerator really is dying." As if summoned, it groaned behind us. I looked toward the dining room. Mom was gathering napkins, pretending not to hear. "If you're worried about it," I said, "you should tell him." I did. He said he got a better deal than expected. "That's good." "Yeah." She smiled too fast and turned on the faucet. Tyler came into the kitchen carrying Dad's empty bottle. "Are you two discussing me?" "No," Mallory said. "Yes," I said. He pointed at me. "See? This is why I trust her." I handed him a wet plate. Dry. He took the towel and stood beside me. It was an ordinary little line of work. Mallory washing, me loading, Tyler drying things that didn't fit. For 10 minutes, he was funny and useful. He made Mallory laugh by wearing a colander as a hat. When Mom tried to help, he kissed the top of her head and steered her toward the living room. That was Tyler's gift. He could make a moment so pleasant you felt petty for remembering the one before it. 2 days later, my regional manager called me into her office. Linda Park was a small woman with silver-framed glasses and a desk so clean it made people confess things. She shut the door and offered me the operations director position again. The role covered 4 dental practices instead of 1. It paid more, came with actual decision-making authority, and required 2 or 3 overnight trips a month. "I thought we settled this," I said. "You said no because your father was recovering." "He is recovering. That's a process, not a permanent address." I looked through the glass wall at the reception desk. Marcy was trying to explain a deductible to a man who believed insurance was a personal promise. I'm not sure the timing works. The timing will never walk up and introduce itself. I have responsibilities. So does everyone I promote. The words stung because Linda said them without cruelty. She pushed a folder toward me. "Take the weekend." I didn't open it. "Rachel, you've been doing half this job without the title for 2 years. I need someone who knows the offices and can deal with people without making them feel dealt with." That sounds manipulative. It's management. I carried the folder home and left it unopened on my kitchen counter. By Friday, it had acquired my keys, 2 pieces of mail, and a banana on top of it. I told Linda no on Monday. She watched me for a long moment, then nodded. "All right." She didn't ask why. That was almost worse. The next few weeks settled into their usual grooves. I took Dad to a blood test. Mom called about a clicking sound in the dryer that stopped before I arrived. Tyler sent a picture of paint samples to the family group, all of them gray, and asked us to vote. Mallory posted a photograph of the townhouse kitchen with a caption about making a home together. The old white refrigerator was still visible behind her. Dad's credit card statement arrived on a Thursday. He called me at work at 4:20, when I had one hygienist running behind and a patient at the front desk insisting we had stolen his partial denture. "Did you buy something from Harbor Home and Appliance?" Dad asked. I tucked the phone against my ear. "What?" $6,480. The number stopped everything around it. "On your card?" That's what I said. "Is Mom there?" "She says it wasn't her. Don't call the number on the statement yet. Let me come look at it." "Why would you buy appliances?" "I didn't." "Your brother says you did." I stepped into the supply room and closed the door. "Tyler says what?" Dad's voice hardened. "Come for dinner tomorrow, 6 o'clock. "Dad." 6 o'clock, Rachel." The line went dead. When I arrived the next evening, the statement was already on the dining table. Tyler sat across from Dad. Mom had made green beans no one was eating. My brother looked at me with an expression I had never seen him use on me before. Not guilt, preparation. I took off my coat and hung it on the back of a chair because no one invited me to sit. Dad tapped the statement, "Harbor Home and Appliance." "I heard you on the phone." "Then you know what I'm asking." "No, I know what you're implying." Mom stood near the stove with an oven mitt still on one hand. "Let's not start at a 10. "I'm at a 2, Dad said. "You don't want to see 10. I've seen 10. You broke the handle off the storm door. That handle was defective. It survived 3 winters and 1 Jehovah's Witness." Tyler leaned back in his chair. He was wearing the navy sweater Mallory had given him for Christmas. His sleeves were pushed to his elbows, and one ankle rested over his knee. If not for the tightness around his mouth, he could have been waiting for dessert. I looked at him. "Why did Dad say you told him I bought appliances?" Tyler glanced at Mom. "Not Dad. Mom. I said I thought it might have been you. You thought I spent $6,500 on appliances and sent them to your house?" "The amount is $6,480, Dad said. "Thank you, numbers matter. They don't matter more than the sentence." Mom removed the oven mitt. "Rachel, sit down." "I'm fine. You're making everyone nervous standing there. Good." Tyler unfolded his leg. "Can we just talk about this without turning it into a courtroom?" You told Dad I used his credit card. I told him what I saw. The room seemed to narrow around the words. Dad pushed the statement toward the empty place at the table. The charge had been circled in blue ink. Underneath it, in Mom's handwriting, was the number for the card company. The transaction had posted March 12th. I picked up the paper. Were the appliances delivered? I asked. Tyler rubbed his palms together. Why does that matter? Because you live at the delivery address. That doesn't prove I ordered them. It narrows the field. Dad nodded once. That's what I said. Tyler looked at him. You didn't say that. I thought it. You shouted that I was a thief because you have 6 new appliances. Mom stepped between them without physically moving, which was one of her more advanced techniques. The store confirmed the delivery address, she said to me. Tyler says someone could have entered it online. Someone who knew his address. You know my address, Tyler said. So do the people who deliver your mail. Are we accusing them next? I'm not accusing you. I stared at him. He exhaled through his nose. I'm saying it's possible. What exactly did you see? His gaze shifted to the statement. At Mom and Dad's. You were by the organizer, and you had Dad's card. My purse slipped from my shoulder. I set it on the chair beside me. When? You know when. No. Tell me. Rachel, Mom said, maybe everyone should eat first. No one is hungry. Dad stabbed a green bean with his fork and ate it, either to contradict me or because anger improved his appetite. Tyler reached for his water. His hand trembled slightly, and I hated that I noticed. I hated that some trained part of me immediately wanted to make the glass easier for him to reach. It was the day of Dad's appointment, he said. You came by afterward. I did. You were standing by the desk. You picked up the card and took a picture. Why didn't you say anything? I didn't realize what you were doing. You watched me photograph Dad's credit card and thought I was documenting the color? I saw your phone. I saw the card. Mom's face had gone still. Tyler kept going because nobody had stopped him yet. You said something about Dad needing to keep track of his accounts. I figured maybe you were setting up autopay or whatever. You're always doing that stuff. What was I wearing? He blinked. What? If you saw me clearly enough to see a card in my hand, what was I wearing? I don't know. Work clothes. Which work clothes? Why would I remember your shirt? You remembered the conversation. I remember what happened. Dad set down his fork. What date? Tyler answered too quickly. March 9th. That was when he smiled. Mom asked him to repeat it, and he did. The soft confidence drained out of her face in stages. Her eyes moved to the refrigerator where the calendar hung under a magnet from a Myrtle Beach trip. I could almost see the square she was remembering, the appointment written in black, Denver in purple, because she color-coded my absence like an inconvenience. Rachel wasn't here, she said. Tyler's expression barely changed. What? She was in Denver. No. The appointment was before Denver. It was not. Mom's voice sharpened. I gave you the card that morning. Dad turned toward her. You gave him my card? For the chair. I thought you gave it to me. You were looking for your glasses, and they were on your head. I decided to reduce the number of important objects in your possession. Under different circumstances, he would have argued. Mom looked at Tyler. You came back after the appointment and I handed it to you in the kitchen. You put it in your wallet. I gave it back. You did, she said, that night. Tyler's smile disappeared. Dad stared at him. So you had the number. Dad, wait. You had the card. For an authorized purchase. And you told me Rachel took a picture of it. I got the day mixed up. You got the whole person mixed up, I said. He stood so abruptly his chair scraped the floor. I'm saying I saw her with the card another time. When? I don't know. Before or after I was in Denver? I don't keep a diary of your movements. No, Mom does that for all of us. Mom flinched, but I didn't have room to regret it. Dad flattened both hands on the table. Did you order those appliances? Tyler walked to the window. Outside, the porch light reflected against the glass, turning it into a dark mirror. He stared at his own shape. Answer me, Dad said. I was going to pay you back. The words were quiet, almost swallowed by the furnace turning on. Mom sat down. Dad did not move. What? The promotion got delayed. The appliance place had a package sale that ended that week, and I knew I'd have the money before the statement came. You thought my bill would wait for your promotion? I was going to move it onto my card. With what available credit? Tyler looked over his shoulder. I had a plan. Dad gave a short, ugly laugh. You had my card number. The refrigerator was dying. Then buy ice. It wasn't just the refrigerator. The range barely worked, the dishwasher leaked, and Mallory had already paid the security deposit and movers. I told her I had the rest. Mom folded the oven mitt into a smaller and smaller rectangle. Does Mallory know? She asked. Tyler's jaw tightened. Not yet. Not yet? Dad repeated. Were you planning to invite her to the trial? Martin? What? He stole $6,500. $6,480, Tyler snapped. Dad's chair hit the wall when he stood. Get out! Dad. Get out of my house. Everybody stop. Mom rose between them. Shouting is not going to fix anything. It might fix something in me, Dad said. Tyler turned to me. I'm sorry. The apology came so suddenly I almost missed it. You're sorry? Yes. For which part? All of it. That's not an answer. He dragged both hands through his hair. I panicked. You panicked for long enough to describe where I was standing. I knew Dad would assume it was me. Because it was you. He called me before I had time to think. That story required thought. I picked the appointment because that's when I had the card. I forgot you were gone. The naked stupidity of it hit me harder than a better lie might have. Tyler hadn't remembered my first vacation in 6 years. He hadn't remembered the photographs in the family group or the calls or the way everyone congratulated him for replacing me for one day. March 9th belonged to him because that was the day he had access to the number. I was only a shape he placed beside it. Why me? I asked. His face changed. There were answers people prepared and answers their bodies tried to hide. Tyler looked down. Why did you choose me? I don't know. Yes, you do. Rachel, I said. I panicked. You could have said the store made a mistake. You could have said someone stole the number. You could have said anything. You told Dad you watched me do it. Dad sank back into his chair. Some of his anger had burned down into something older. Tyler looked at Mom again. That hurt too. Finally, he said, because you be okay. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. What does that mean? You're you. Dad could get mad at you and you'd prove you didn't do it or you'd figure it out. You wouldn't. He stopped. I wouldn't what? Fall apart. The room went completely quiet. Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. Tyler took a step toward me. I know that sounds bad. It sounds accurate. I don't mean you deserved it. No, you mean I could survive it. I knew nobody would actually believe you stole from Dad. Dad looked away. I laughed once. The sound came out wrong. Dad asked me why you would make up something that specific. I was angry, Dad said. You asked me why I bought appliances. I didn't know what was going on, and now you do. He rubbed his forehead. Now I do. I waited. It seemed reasonable to wait. There should have been a sentence coming, something simple and clean. I'm sorry I believed him. I know you would never do that. He had accused you because we made you the easier person to accuse. Instead, Dad looked at Tyler. How much can you pay me this month? I stared at him. Tyler pulled out his chair and sat. Maybe 300. 300? It'll take you 2 years. My hours should be back up next quarter. I've heard that song. We can work out a schedule, Mom said carefully. A written schedule. And maybe some of the appliances can be returned. They're installed, Tyler said. All of them? The washer and dryer are still back-ordered. Then cancel those. Mallory will ask why. Mom pressed her lips together. We do not need to involve Mallory tonight. I was still standing by the chair with my coat hanging behind me. Is that what we're doing now? I asked. Mom looked up. Doing what? Protecting him from the next person. We are trying to solve the immediate problem. He accused me of stealing from Dad. We know you didn't. You know because his lie collapsed. Rachel, Dad said, tired now. We have a bigger issue here. I looked down at the statement between us. No, I said, you have a more expensive issue. I picked up my purse. Behind me, Mom said, please don't leave like this. I put on my coat. Tyler called my name, but he did not follow. Mom did. She caught me at the bottom of the porch steps. Rachel, wait. I kept walking toward my car. Your brother is terrified. That stopped me. I turned. Mom had come outside without a coat. She stood in the yellow porch light wearing thin socks and the black flats she used as house shoes. Her arms were folded tight against the cold. He should be, I said. He knows your father is furious. Dad is furious about the money. He is furious about all of it. He had an interesting way of showing that. Mom glanced back at the house. Through the dining room window, I could see Dad seated at the table and Tyler standing behind a chair. Neither of them had followed her. Your father reacts to what he can solve, she said. Then I'm inconvenient. That is not what I said. It's what you all keep saying in different words. She came down one step. Tyler did a terrible thing. No, don't do that. Do what? Turn a series of choices into one thing. He copied the card. He ordered the appliances. He hid it from Mallory. Then he told Dad he saw me steal it. Those are separate decisions. I know. Do you? Yes, Rachel. Her voice sharpened, then softened immediately. Yes. I know. The cold reddened the end of her nose. I had the automatic thought that she would get sick standing there, followed by the equally automatic correction that cold air did not cause illness. I hated that even then. Some part of my brain was still managing her. Mom lowered her voice. He thought the promotion was coming through. I stared at her. I am not excusing it. You're explaining it before you've said you're sorry. I didn't order the appliances. You let Dad question me. I was trying to understand what happened. Tyler said he watched me photograph the card, and I asked him for the date, after I had already been accused. Her face tightened. I remembered, didn't I? The words hung there between us. I had expected her to take them back. She didn't. Yes, I said. You remembered. I proved you weren't there. He proved I wasn't there. You just refused to ignore it. That is unfair. Probably. I'm having a difficult night. She hugged herself more tightly. Please don't tell Mallory until he has a chance to explain. I laughed, though nothing was funny. That's why you came after me. I came because you're upset. You came because I might talk. Both things can be true. The honesty surprised me enough to hurt. Mallory thinks he paid for those appliances from savings. She will find out. When? He needs time. He had 5 weeks. He needs an evening then. Why? Because if she hears it from you right now, angry, it could destroy their engagement. I looked past her at the house. Tyler moved, and for 1 second his shadow crossed Dad's. Mom, I didn't take his card. I know that. I didn't order anything. I know. I didn't lie to Mallory. I am aware. Then how would I be the one destroying their engagement? Her mouth opened, but she had no language ready for that. Finally, she said, I'm asking you not to make one stupid mistake bigger than it already is. There it was, one mistake, singular, small enough to fit inside a sentence. Somehow I was the one holding the air pump. Go inside, I said. You're cold. Promise me. No. Rachel? No. I unlocked my car. She put one hand on the top of the door before I could open it. He is your brother, and I'm his sister. That didn't slow him down. I pulled the door open gently enough that she had time to move her hand. The drive home took 42 minutes. I knew because the clock on my dashboard changed to 7:53 as I left their street and to 8:35 when I turned into mine. I kept the radio off. At the first red light, my phone lit up in the cup holder. Mom, then Dad, then Tyler. At the next light, Tyler called again. I turned the phone face down. My house was exactly as I had left it. One lamp on in the living room, the operations director folder under a stack of unopened mail, the banana now brown enough to qualify as a warning. I took off my coat and hung it over a dining chair. For 20 minutes, I cleaned things that were not dirty. I wiped the counter, I rinsed a mug. I opened the refrigerator, moved mustard from one shelf to another, then moved it back. My phone kept vibrating. Finally, I answered Tyler. "Thank God," he said. "That's a little dramatic. You left?" "Yes. Mom's crying." "Then maybe stop giving her things to cry about." He exhaled hard. "I'm trying to fix this." "What have you fixed?" "I told Dad I'll pay him back." "You mean you agreed to repay money you took?" "I canceled the washer and dryer." "Good. And I'm going to sell some things." "What things?" "I don't know yet, Rachel." "Things. The point is, I'm not avoiding responsibility. The point is, you called because Mom thinks I'll tell Mallory." Silence. I sat on the edge of the couch. "Are you going to?" he asked. "You should." "I will." "When?" "Tomorrow." "Why tomorrow?" "Because she's working an event tonight. I'm not doing this while she's managing a ballroom full of drunk pharmaceutical reps." That was the first sensible thing he had said all evening. "Fine. But I need you to back me up." I closed my eyes. "On what?" "That it was a banking thing. A banking thing. Not like fraud. Just, Dad let me use the card, and there was confusion about what it was used for." "There was no confusion. I know that. You know that. But Mallory doesn't need every ugly detail all at once. She needs the detail where you bought appliances with someone else's card. I'm telling her that. And the detail where you blamed me. That part has nothing to do with her. It tells her what you do when you're cornered." His breathing changed. "You want her to leave me," he said. "No. You've never liked us together." "That's not true." "You think she's too good for me." "I think she deserves accurate information before she marries you." "Same thing." I pressed my fingers against my forehead. "I'm not lying for you. I didn't ask you to lie. You asked me to call theft a banking thing. Dad gave me the card to buy a chair. It's not like I stole it out of his wallet." "No, you returned the plastic and kept the number. Very ethical distinction. Why are you acting like I did something to you?" I went still. On the other end, he realized it too late. "I didn't mean that. You described me holding Dad's card. You invented a conversation I never had. I apologized. You said the word sorry, then asked me to help you continue the lie. Because I need my family right now. You needed family at dinner too. You used me." "Rachel," I ended the call. He called back immediately. Then twice more. I powered off the phone. The quiet that followed was not peaceful. It pressed against the windows. I picked up the operations folder and opened it for the first time. The salary was printed on the second page. The travel expectations were on the third. I read every line even though I had already refused the job. At 11, I went upstairs without turning my phone back on. I slept badly and woke before 6 with the feeling that I had forgotten an appointment. There wasn't one. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad. At the top, I wrote Mom and Dad. Below it, I listed everything connecting my daily life to theirs. Pharmacy, cardiology portal, insurance, cable, grocery transfer, spare key, emergency contacts. The list filled most of the page. Some items were practical. Dad needed someone listed on the cardiology release because Mom got flustered during medical conversations. The pharmacy account needed a payment card, though there was no reason it had to be mine. I had added it 2 years earlier when Mom's debit card expired and never changed it back. The grocery transfer began after Dad's hours were reduced before retirement. It was supposed to last 3 months. It had been 4 years. $250 left my account on the first of every month. Mom called it the grocery help and insisted she would repay me whenever I mentioned it, so I'd stopped mentioning it. I logged into my bank and canceled the automatic transfer. The confirmation page asked whether I was sure. I clicked yes. Then I removed my card from the pharmacy account and replaced it with the Visa number Mom had saved there. I did not touch the cardiology portal. I did not remove myself from the insurance contacts. I wasn't trying to make them unsafe. I was trying to discover whether there was a version of being their daughter that did not require maintaining their infrastructure. At 8:15, I turned on my phone. There were 14 messages. Mom, please call when you're calmer. Dad, we worked out a payment plan. Tyler, I'm sorry. Tyler, really? Tyler, you have every right to be mad. Tyler, but please don't call Mallory. Mom, your father's blood pressure is up. Dad, your mother is making that sound worse than it is. Mom, it is 156/92. Dad, it was 142 when I checked again. Tyler, I'll tell her myself. Mom, Rachel. The final message had arrived at 7:53. Your father wants to know if you're still taking him for blood work Tuesday. I read it twice. Then I typed, Tyler said I should let other people do stuff. This seems like a good place to start. I deleted it. I wrote, I won't be available Tuesday. Please arrange another ride. Mom called before the message had even finished showing as delivered. I let it ring. At 9:30, there was a knock on my front door. Through the glass, I saw Dad standing on the porch with my spare key in his hand. I opened the door but left the storm door latched. Dad lifted the key slightly. It was attached to the red plastic tag Mom had labeled Rachel's in black marker. Were you going to let yourself in? I considered it. Why didn't you? You'd turn it into a symbol. I unlatched the door. You're standing on my porch, holding a labeled key. It's doing most of the work. He came inside and wiped his shoes on the mat with exaggerated care. His cheeks were flushed from the wind. He wore his brown coat over a blue flannel shirt, and his hair had not been combed properly in the back. Did you drive? I asked. Yes. You're not supposed to drive when your foot is stiff. My foot isn't stiff. It was stiff Monday. It's Saturday. Apparently, his circulation followed the calendar. I closed the door. Do you want coffee? No. Okay. Is there coffee? Yes. I'll have half a cup. I poured it into the gray mug he always used at my house. He sat at the kitchen table and placed my spare key beside the unopened mail. I stayed at the counter. Your mother is upset, he said. I gathered. She called you 7 times. I gathered that too. You could answer once. I sent a message. You sent a notice. It was information. He looked at me over the top of the mug. Information has a tone. Everything has a tone when Mom reads it. That almost got a smile. He took a sip instead. Tuesday is just blood work, he said. It takes 15 minutes. Then it should be easy for someone else to handle. You already took the morning off. I can untake it. That's not a word. It is in management. You said no to that job. The sentence surprised me. Dad had always known about the promotion, but we had never discussed my second refusal. I had told Mom, which meant she had told him, probably while pretending she wasn't doing exactly that. Yes, I said. Why? It requires travel. So? So I'm not available to take you to blood work from another state. His eyes narrowed. I didn't ask you to give up a promotion. You didn't have to. That's a cheap answer. It wasn't meant to be expensive. He set down the mug. I came here because I don't want you thinking I believed Tyler. You did. I was asking questions. You asked why I bought appliances. Because your brother had just told me he saw you with the card, and that sounded possible? No. You still asked. His jaw worked slightly. You know how much was on that statement? $64.80. Apparently, numbers matter. That is not grocery money, Rachel. I saw it and I got angry. At me, at whoever did it. You weren't talking to whoever. You were talking to me. He looked toward the kitchen window. The neighbor across the street was dragging a trash can back up her driveway, one wheel bumping over every seam in the concrete. I should have handled it differently, he said. It was close enough to an apology that I could see the shape of one. It was also carefully built to contain no admission of what he had done. Yes, I said. He looked back. That's it. What would you like me to say? I drove 40 minutes. You didn't come to apologize. You came because I won't take you Tuesday. I came because you're cutting everybody off. I declined one ride. Your mother says you removed your card from the pharmacy. It's their pharmacy. You put her visa on there. Yes. And the grocery transfer disappeared. The transfer wasn't permanent. It's been 4 years. Exactly. He leaned back. The chair made a soft wooden creak. We can buy our own groceries. I know. I never asked you to send that money. Mom did. When? 4 years ago. For 3 months. I waited. His face changed when he heard it out loud. That's between you and your mother, he said. No, it's money for both of you. We didn't know you were still doing it. Dad. I didn't. There's an extra $250 in your account every month, and neither of you noticed? Your mother handles the account. There it was again. A family task moved from one person to another until no one standing in front of me could be responsible for it. I crossed my arms. I'm not asking you to repay it. I didn't say you were. I'm not punishing you by stopping. That's what it feels like, because you got used to it. The words landed harder than I intended. Dad's face closed. He slid the spare key across the table. Seems like you'll want that. I looked down at it. I didn't ask for your key. No, you're making announcements. I'm trying to keep up. You came here holding it because you almost let yourself into my house. Because you wouldn't answer the phone. It was 9:30 in the morning, not a hostage situation. He stood. The coffee was still half full. I wanted to stop him. The impulse was so fast it felt physical. I wanted to tell him to sit down, make eggs, complain about the weather, and let us become ordinary again before either of us said something permanent. Instead, I asked, "Did Tyler tell Mallory?" Dad pushed his chair in. He said he was going to. That wasn't my question. I don't know. Does Mom? Probably. Then why did she send you? She didn't send me. I waited. He put on his coat. She strongly suggested I come, he said. I almost laughed. At the front door, he paused. Your brother made a payment plan. I'm glad. $300 a month, more when his hours pick up. We canceled the washer and dryer. I'm glad. I'm not letting him off. I didn't say you were. You didn't have to. He opened the door. Dad. He looked back. I could have asked if he wanted me to find him another ride for Tuesday. I could have told him the lab opened at 7 and the fastest parking was behind the building. The information sat ready in my mouth like a reflex. I didn't take your card, I said. His face shifted. I know. I need you to understand that knowing now doesn't erase that you asked. He stood there another second. Then he nodded once and left. The spare key remained on my table. At 1:15, Mallory called. I nearly let it go to voicemail. Then I pictured her in that kitchen, loading plates into a dishwasher she had to lift with her knee, believing the man she planned to marry had used his savings to replace it. Hi, I said. Hey. Her voice was too bright. Do you have a minute? I do. I'm sorry to call you about this. I sat on the couch. You don't have to apologize. Tyler told me there's some problem with the appliances. Behind her, I heard a door close. What did he say? That your dad let him use a card, and there was a misunderstanding about the amount. I stared at the blank television screen. He said they had discussed helping us with one appliance, and the store processed the whole package on the same card. That's what he told you? Yes. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the couch cushion. He said you were there when they talked about it. Of course he had. Mallory, where is Tyler? He went to get coffee. Did he ask you to call me? No. He said not to involve you because you're upset about the way your dad handled it. That sentence was elegant enough to make me feel sick. Tyler had taken the one true thing in the room. My father had handled it badly and arranged it like a curtain. What happened? She asked. I could hear how carefully she was trying not to sound afraid. I told her. I did not embellish. I did not call Tyler a thief or a liar, though both words were available. I told her Mom handed him the card on March 9th to buy Dad's recliner. He returned the physical card but kept the number. 3 days later, he used it for the appliance package without permission. When Dad found the charge, Tyler said he had watched me photograph the card. Mallory said nothing for so long I checked the screen to make sure the call had not dropped. "Rachel," she said finally, "were the appliances delivered before he told your dad?" "Yes." "He knew Dad would see the statement?" "I don't know what he thought. He told me the refrigerator was his wedding gift to me." I closed my eyes. "I'm sorry." "Why are you sorry? Because this hurts." She made a small sound that might have been a laugh if there had been anything in it. "He showed me a savings account on his phone. I don't know about that. It had almost $8,000. Then maybe he has savings. He said it was for the appliances." I let the silence hold what I couldn't answer. "Why would he blame you?" she asked. I thought of Tyler at Mom's table saying I would be okay, because he thought I could survive it. Mallory breathed out. The front door opened on her end. Tyler called her name. "I have to go," she whispered. "You don't have to decide anything tonight. That's what everybody says when they want time to rearrange the truth." The call ended. Tyler called less than a minute later. I didn't answer. His first voicemail was angry. In the second, he sounded desperate. In the third, he said Mallory had taken a suitcase to her sister's apartment and wanted space. Mom called immediately after that. "What exactly did you tell her?" she demanded. "The truth. All of it? There isn't a family-size truth and a guest-size truth. You promised Tyler until today. I didn't promise him anything. Mallory called me." "And you couldn't show a little restraint?" She asked a direct question. "You knew what this could do." I walked to the kitchen and picked up the spare key Dad had left. "Mom, do you still keep your house key under the ceramic frog?" "What? The spare key? Is it still under the frog?" "Why? Because I'm bringing mine back." Her voice dropped. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to be the person you call first while also being the person you believe last. We did not believe Tyler. You gave him enough room to confess himself comfortable. That doesn't even make sense." "It does to me." I took their brass key off my ring. The small red plastic heart Mom had attached years ago came with it. "Rachel, your father has blood work Tuesday. Then Tyler can take him. He has work. So do I. He said he can take a long lunch, but the lab closes at 4:30. Mom went quiet. I hated that I knew. I hated more that she knew I knew. "I'm bringing the key by," I said. "What are you trying to prove?" "Nothing." That was the cleanest truth I had said all weekend. I wasn't trying to prove I mattered. I was removing the ways they had taught me I had to. I drove over before I could talk myself into mailing the key. The ceramic frog sat beside the front step with its painted smile and chipped green foot. Mom had bought it at a craft fair 15 years earlier. Tyler called it the world's least secure security system. Dad argued that burglars would assume no one could be stupid enough to hide a key beneath something designed to conceal a key. The spare was still there. I lifted the frog, placed my key beside the other one, and lowered it again. The front door opened. Mom stood behind the storm door in an apron, her hair pinned loosely at the back. "Were you going to leave without coming in? I didn't know if you wanted company. You drove 40 minutes. That argument is getting popular." She unlatched the door. The house smelled like coffee and the lemon oil she used on the dining table whenever she was upset. "Your father is resting. Is he okay?" "He's fine." His blood pressure came down. I stepped inside. My eyes went automatically to the wooden organizer. The blue card was gone, probably in Dad's wallet or a drawer. The recliner sat upright and empty. Mom noticed where I looked. He put the card in the safe. Dad's safe was a fireproof gray box in the bedroom closet. It held birth certificates, the title to his truck, cash he forgot was there, and a handwritten combination taped to the lid. "Secure," I said. He changed the combination. "Did he remove the tape?" Her mouth pressed into a line. "Not my department," I added. Mom walked toward the kitchen. I made coffee. "I'm not staying long." "Of course not." I followed her because not following would have turned the hallway into a battlefield. She poured a cup without asking and added milk the way I liked it. Then she placed it at my usual chair. My purse remained on my shoulder. "Did you bring the key?" she asked. I put it under the frog. Why? Because Dad returned mine. He was being dramatic. He came to my house because I didn't answer the phone and he almost used it. He was worried. He was angry. Both things can be true. That's becoming your slogan. Mom sat across from the untouched coffee. You don't have to do this. I'm not doing anything to you. You canceled money we didn't ask you to keep sending, removed yourself from the pharmacy, refused to take your father for blood work, told Mallory everything, and gave back the key. That is a list of actions. I didn't remove myself from the pharmacy. I changed the payment card. You didn't discuss it with me. Did you discuss letting my card pay for your prescriptions for 2 years? It was convenient. Yes. She leaned back. That word reached her in a way the others hadn't. Is that what you think we've done? She asked. Used you because it's convenient? I think you call me first because I usually say yes. Families call the reliable person and protect the unreliable one. Your brother is paying your father back. This isn't about the payment plan. Then what would satisfy you? The question had edges. I could hear the exhaustion underneath them, but also irritation that I had not provided a task she could complete. I don't know. You want Tyler punished. I want what he did to me to matter even though it didn't cost $6,400. It matters. Then why is everyone angrier that I told Mallory? We are not angrier. You called me before you called her. What was I supposed to say to Mallory? Sorry your fiancé bought your wedding gift with our money and used his sister as an escape hatch? That would be needlessly cruel. It would also be accurate. Mom got up and carried the milk back to the refrigerator. She moved carefully as if we were discussing something fragile rather than something already broken. Tyler hasn't slept, she said. I slept badly too. He thinks Mallory is going to leave. She might. You say that like it doesn't affect you. It affects me. It just isn't mine to fix. She loves him. I know. He loves her. I know that too. Then why couldn't you give him one day? I looked at the coffee cooling in front of me because he used his one day to write me into a lie. Dad's chair motor hummed in the living room. A moment later, he appeared in the doorway, lifted upright by the recliner and annoyed that we had heard the process. You don't have to sneak up on people with that thing, I said. I wasn't sneaking. You came into the room vertically. He ignored that. Did you bring the key? It's under the frog. Good. Mom looked at him. Martin? What? She wants to make a point. I want you to stop walking into my house because I didn't answer my phone. I knocked. You nearly didn't. But I did. Dad came to the table and sat beside Mom. He looked tired, though with Dad it was difficult to tell the difference between physical fatigue and being annoyed by a conversation. What exactly are the new rules? He asked. They aren't rules. Sounds like rules. I'm not going to be your default driver, scheduler, payment method, or emergency backup. Mom stared at me. Payment method? The grocery transfer, pharmacy, whatever else I've forgotten. Your mother and I can pay our bills. I know. Then stop talking like we've been living off you. I didn't say that. You're making us sound helpless. I don't think you're helpless. That's why I'm stepping back. Dad's eyebrows lifted. Mom said, What does stepping back mean? It means you can ask me for help, but you can't assume the answer. It means if Tyler agrees to do something, I'm not standing behind him in case he doesn't. It means I visit because I want to see you, not because your printer needs ink. The printer does need ink, Dad said. Mom turned on him. Not now. I'm giving an example. I pulled the operations folder from my purse. I had brought it without deciding why. The corner was bent from the banana. I turned down a promotion because it required travel, I said. Mom's eyes dropped to the folder. Dad frowned. I told you that was your decision. It was. No one asked you to do that. No one ever asks in one clean sentence. There's always an appointment or a prescription or something Tyler promised and forgot. I made the decision because I knew being unavailable would become a family problem. We managed Denver, Mom said, for 4 days, and you reminded me every few hours how much managing it required. I sent updates. You sent a photograph of traffic. The garage was backed up. Dad looked at her. You sent her traffic? She worries. You make me worry and then use the worry as proof I need updates. Mom's cheeks flushed. I cannot win with you. This isn't about winning. It feels like a trial where the sentence was decided before I entered the room. Dad reached for her hand. She let him take it, but her fingers stayed stiff. I stood. I love you, I said. I'm just not doing the same job anymore. Dad looked at the folder in my hand. The promotion's gone. I know. Mom's face softened. Then why bring it? Because I needed to remember it was real. I left the coffee untouched. Tuesday morning, Tyler sent a message to the family group at 9:12. I can take Dad at 3:45. Lab closes at 4:30. Plenty of time. I was at work reviewing supply invoices. I read it and put my phone away. At 3:38, Mom texted, Has anyone heard from Tyler? I kept reviewing invoices. At 3:51, he says he is leaving now. At 4:07, traffic is terrible. At 4:18, my phone rang. I stepped into Linda's office because it was empty and shut the door. Mom didn't say hello. They stopped taking patients at 4:15. The website says the lab closes at 4:30. The website is wrong. Ask if they can make an exception. They will not. Your father is standing at the counter. I pictured Dad in his brown coat holding the blue folder while a receptionist explained a rule he believed should not exist. Then reschedule, I said. He was supposed to fast. I know. He hasn't eaten since last night. I know that too. Tyler was 12 minutes late. Then Tyler can buy him breakfast. This is not funny. I'm not laughing. In the background, Dad said, Give me the phone. There was rustling. We'll come tomorrow, he said. Okay, I told your mother not to call. I didn't know she was going to, Mom said near the phone. You were holding the phone, Dad replied. Do you need me to do anything? I asked. The question escaped before I could catch it. Dad paused. No, he said. We've got it. The words hurt and relieved me at the same time. Tyler took Dad to breakfast. Mom sent a photograph of them at a diner, Dad staring unhappily at a plate of eggs, while Tyler smiled at the camera. The caption read, Nobody murdered anyone. That evening, Tyler called. I was late by 3 minutes, he said. You were late by 12, according to Mom, who measures time emotionally. Did you reschedule? Tomorrow at 7:15. Good. I have a sales meeting at 8. Then leave the lab by 7:40. Do you know how long Dad talks to receptionists? Yes. Can you take him? I stood at my kitchen counter, slicing an apple. No? Rachel, you told everyone you could handle it. I can handle it. I'm asking for help, and I'm saying no, because you want me to fail. The knife stopped against the cutting board. You already failed, I said. I'm letting you experience the part that usually happens after. That's cold. So was blaming me for theft. He made an aggravated sound. Are you going to bring that into every conversation for the rest of our lives? No. We can stop having conversations. That's not what I want. Then don't call me to take over your commitment. I have work. So do I. You manage a dental office. You can move things around. There it was. The reason my time had always been more available. Not because I had less work, but because I was better at rearranging the damage. I'm hanging up, I said. Fine. Be like this. Like what? He hesitated. Not you, he said. I ended the call before he could explain what version of me he believed he had a right to. Dad made it to the lab the next morning. Tyler dropped him at the entrance at 7:16 and left for his meeting. Mom drove separately to take Dad home. At 10, she called to ask whether fasting could make a person dizzy 3 hours later. I told her to give him water and breakfast, then call the doctor if it continued. She said, That's all? That's what I would do if I were there. The dizziness passed. The printer remained out of ink. The clicking dryer stopped again. Nobody died. But by Friday, I had 8 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Dad, and 11 from Tyler, each one attached to a problem that had once disappeared before anyone else needed to know it existed. On Saturday, Mallory came to my house carrying a cardboard box. Inside were the cream-colored napkins from Sunday dinner, a set of paint samples, and the red plastic heart that had been attached to my parents' key. "I think this is yours," she said. I picked up the heart. "Where did you get it?" "Tyler's kitchen floor." Her eyes were swollen, but her voice was steady. "I went back for my things," she said, "and I found something else he forgot to tell all of us." She set the box on my kitchen table and took out her phone. "The washer and dryer weren't canceled," she said. I looked at the red heart in my palm. Dad said they were. Tyler told him they were. He moved the delivery date. To when? Next month. He told the store we were renovating the laundry room. Are you? No. I found it because the store called yesterday to confirm the new date, she said. Tyler had listed my number as the backup. I read the message twice, though it did not improve. What did he think would happen next month, I asked him. He said he expected to have the money by then. That sentence is doing a lot of work for him. He said if the promotion didn't come through, he would sell his motorcycle. Tyler's motorcycle had not run in nearly a year. Dad had helped him push it into the townhouse garage, where it sat beneath a cover beside 3 boxes marked Office. Mallory slipped her phone into her coat pocket. I canceled the order. Actually canceled it. The refund is going back to your dad's card. Good. The store charged a restocking fee. How much? $180. Dad will enjoy that. I offered to pay it. You shouldn't. I signed the original delivery acceptance. You didn't know how it was paid for. I still signed it. There was no self-pity in her voice. She stated responsibility the way other people stated the weather, unpleasant, present, not interested in debate. I set the plastic heart on the table. How did this get in Tyler's kitchen? She looked at it. I don't know. It was near the junk drawer. I left the key under Mom's ceramic frog. Tyler had a brass key on his ring when he came home Tuesday. Of course he did. Mom had taken the key I returned and handed it to Tyler before the week was over. Maybe he needed it for Dad's lab paperwork. Maybe she was afraid of not having a dependable adult with access. Maybe Tyler's unreliability made giving him a key feel more loving because trust was something she awarded where it was least supported. The red heart must have snapped off when he added it to his ring. I put it down. Do Mom and Dad know you canceled the order? I called Martin this morning. You called Dad? He answered. What did he say? He thanked me. That sounded like Dad when rage had forced him into formal manners. Then he asked to speak to Tyler. Did you give him the phone? Tyler wasn't there. He slept at your parents' house. I leaned against the counter. Mom had not mentioned that in any of her 8 calls. He told me he was staying with a friend, Mallory said. I guess he was, not the way he meant. She sat at the table and looked around my kitchen. The operations folder was still there, now partly covered by a grocery circular. I moved it to the counter without knowing why. Would you like coffee? I asked. No. Thank you. Tea? No. Water? She gave me a tired half smile. Is offering beverages genetic? Mom considers hydration a form of conflict management. I noticed. I sat across from her. Mallory folded her hands. Her engagement ring caught the light, then disappeared when she covered it with her thumb. I postponed the wedding, she said. I kept my face still. We hadn't sent invitations yet. Just save the dates to family and close friends. I'm sorry, you keep saying that. I don't know what else to say. Neither do I. She twisted the ring once, but did not remove it. I love him, she said. That's the embarrassing part. It isn't embarrassing. He lied to me for 5 weeks, used your dad's card, blamed you, lied about canceling part of the order, and then told me he did all of it because he wanted to give me a nice home. That sounds like Tyler. It made me feel guilty for being angry. For about 10 minutes, I was comforting him. That also sounds like Tyler. Her mouth trembled. She looked toward the window. He can be so generous, she said, not with money, with attention. He remembers the name of every person on my team. When my events run late, he sends food to the loading dock because he knows I won't leave the ballroom. He spent 3 hours fixing my sister's dining chairs, even though he hates doing anything twice. I nodded. "That's the man I'm supposed to marry," she said. "Then there's this man, they're the same man." I know. It was the cruelest thing about loving someone. Their good qualities did not become counterfeit when they hurt you. Tyler's warmth had always been real, so had his belief that warmth should purchase forgiveness in advance. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know. Stay at my sister's for now. Keep going to work. Stop making decisions because everyone wants the discomfort to end." That sounds smart. It doesn't feel smart. Smart usually feels like nausea at first. She laughed quietly. Then she studied me. "Has he always done this to you? Ordered appliances? Made you carry the part he couldn't?" I looked at the cream napkins in the box. One still had a smear of lipstick near the folded edge. "Sometimes," I said. "And your parents let him?" "Sometimes." "Rachel." "They don't think they're letting him. They think they're keeping him from falling apart." "What about you?" "I don't fall apart where they can see it." Mallory reached across the table and touched the red heart with one fingertip. "Maybe you should," she said. After she left, I carried the box to the front hall because she had forgotten it. I texted her and she replied that I could throw everything away. I didn't. I folded the napkins, stacked the paint samples, and put the box in the coat closet. Destruction felt too decisive. My family preferred objects that waited around long after their purpose became unclear. Tyler arrived 40 minutes later. He knocked instead of using a key, which would have been funny if his face hadn't looked so bad. He had not shaved. His navy sweater was wrinkled, and there were gray half-moons beneath his eyes. "Is she here?" he asked. "No." "Was she?" "Yes." He looked past me into the house. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then opened the door wider. He walked straight to the kitchen. His eyes landed on the red heart. "Where'd you get that?" "Mallory found it on your floor." He touched his key ring. The brass key was there without its tag. "Mom gave me the spare. I assumed. Dad needed me to pick up his blue folder. Why didn't Mom get it?" "She was at the pharmacy. Did the card work?" He stared at me. "That's not fair," he said. "No, it isn't." He pulled out a chair and sat. "Mallory postponed the wedding." She told me. "You happy?" "No." "You got what you wanted. What I wanted was not to be blamed for stealing Dad's card." "Okay, you got that too." I stood on the other side of the table. Tyler rubbed his face. "She canceled the washer and dryer. You told Dad they were already canceled. I moved them. I was trying to buy time. With Dad's available credit, I was going to fix it. You keep using the future tense like it's a receipt." He looked up sharply. "You don't understand what it's like." What's like? To have everybody waiting for you to screw up." I almost answered too quickly. Then I sat down. "Dad was waiting," Tyler said. "You were waiting. Even Mallory, though she'd never say it. She'd ask if I paid this or confirmed that, and every question sounded like she was checking whether I was still the person everybody warned her about. So you proved them right? I wanted one thing to be done. The house, the appliances, the wedding. I wanted to hand her something and say, 'Here, I handled this.' And when you couldn't, you handed Dad my name." His eyes filled, which made me angrier because I still loved him enough to feel it. "I knew it would fall apart," he said. "I just thought I'd have time first. To repay the card? To become the guy who could." For a second, I understood him. Not enough to excuse him. Enough to remember we had grown up under the same roof, learning different ways to earn love. I became useful. Tyler became promising. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Talk to her." "No. Tell her I'm not a monster. She doesn't think you're a monster. You don't know what she thinks." "I know she loves you." His face crumpled slightly, then reset. "Then tell her people make mistakes. She knows. You're enjoying this." I stood so fast the chair legs caught against the tile. "You need to leave. Rachel, now. I'm upset." "So am I. I came here because I have no one else to talk to. You have Mom. You slept at her house. She cries every time I walk into a room. Dad looks at me like he wants to calculate interest on my organs. Despite myself, I almost smiled. Tyler saw it and reached for the opening. There she is. That made the smile disappear. You don't get to make me laugh and call that repair. I wasn't. You always do. You make the room feel better, and then everyone acts like the thing that happened must be better too. He stood. His voice hardened. You think being angry makes you brave? No. I think saying no makes me unavailable. Same difference lately. He left without slamming the door. Tyler had always known how to depart in a way that left the other person feeling unreasonable for expecting noise. Sunday afternoon, Mom texted that she had made pot roast and there was more than enough. I replied, I already have plans. The plans were Denise, a movie and Thai food eaten from cartons on her couch. Mom wrote, Your father has been asking about you. Dad had not called. I put the phone face down. Halfway through the movie, it rang again. This time, it was Dad. I stepped into Denise's hallway and answered. Hi. Your mother says I've been asking about you. Have you? No. I leaned against the wall. Okay. A pause. The printer works, he said. You fixed it? I watched a video. Did the video tell you to buy ink? It did. And you survived? Barely. I smiled into the dark hallway. Dad cleared his throat. I'm not asking you to come over. I know. I just wanted you to know the printer works. Thanks for telling me. Another pause. Then he said, Enjoy your movie, and hung up before either of us could turn the call into something else. I returned to the couch. Denise paused the movie. Emergency. The printer works. She waited. That was the entire call. Your father called during a hostage negotiation scene to report office equipment. Yes, honestly, that's growth. I sat down and reached for my carton of noodles. He didn't ask for anything. Did you want him to? No, you look disappointed. I'm not disappointed. You look like someone gave you a present in wrapping paper you don't trust. I pulled apart my wooden chopsticks. Can we watch the movie? Denise pressed play. For the rest of the evening, I kept thinking about Dad buying his own ink. It was ridiculous. The man had worked maintenance at an auto plant for 32 years. He could rebuild a hydraulic pump, wire a panel, and identify a bad bearing by sound. Somewhere along the way, we had all agreed that a home printer was beyond him, because it was easier for me to fix it than for him to learn. On Monday, he sent me a photograph of the printed page. It was a recipe for chili. The top quarter had been cut off. Needs adjustment, he wrote. I replied, strong first draft. He sent back the middle finger emoji. Mom called that afternoon because the pharmacy had filled the wrong number of pills. I was at the front desk reviewing next month's schedule. They gave him 30, she said. The doctor ordered 90. Did you ask the pharmacist? I am asking you. I don't work at the pharmacy. You know the account. So do they. Rachel, I'm standing in the parking lot, then go back inside. A silence followed, filled with cars passing her open window. You could call them, she said. So could you. I don't understand why every small thing has to become a lesson now. It doesn't. It can just be a small thing you handle. She hung up. 20 minutes later, she texted that the remaining pills would be ready Thursday. I stared at the message, waiting for the rush of satisfaction I thought a successful boundary was supposed to produce. What I felt instead was guilt, followed by irritation at the guilt, followed by guilt for being irritated. Then a patient walked in, wearing one blue disposable shoe cover because he thought it was required, and the day moved on. Dad's calls changed. He called to tell me a song we liked was playing on the radio. He called because a man on television had pronounced Louisville incorrectly. He called once and said nothing. For so long, I asked if he had dialed me by accident. No, he said. I was eating a peanut. Was it a complicated peanut? It had a shell. Then I understand the delay. He did not ask about blood work, groceries, printers, pills, rides, passwords, or Tyler. Mom asked about all of them. Sometimes she disguised the request as information. Your father's cardiology follow-up is May 14th. The cable company says the modem is obsolete. Tyler was supposed to pick up groceries, but Brent scheduled a late meeting. I answered the messages that were actually questions. I let the others remain information. Tyler made his first $300 payment to Dad. I knew because Mom texted a picture of the deposit confirmation to the family group. Tyler responded with, "One down, only the rest of my natural life to go." Dad wrote, 21 months. Tyler replied, "Love the support." I did not respond. Mallory remained at her sister's apartment. She and Tyler attended one counseling session, then another. I learned this from Tyler, who called me after the second and said the counselor kept asking him how he experienced shame. "What did you say?" I asked. I said I experienced it as a 50-minute appointment that costs $140. Sounds productive. She wants me to stop making jokes when I'm uncomfortable. "What are you going to do with all that free time?" He laughed, then caught himself. "See?" he said. "This is what I mean. We're funny together. We can be funny and still have a problem." I know. It was the first time he had said it without immediately trying to exchange the admission for something. He was taking Dad to most appointments now. Some days he did it well. He brought the blue folder, arrived early, asked the doctor questions, and took Mom to lunch afterward. Other days he forgot. He complained about parking, traffic, waiting rooms, and the fact that Dad insisted on arriving 45 minutes before every appointment, but also refused to put on his shoes until the last possible second. One Thursday, Tyler sent me a private message. "How do you get him to take the water pill before noon?" I wrote, "Ask once. Put it beside his coffee." "Don't argue." He replied, "That's it? That's it. This feels like fake advice. Try it." An hour later, he sent a photograph of Dad's empty pill cup. "Witchcraft," I almost wrote. "You're welcome." Instead, I sent a thumbs up. There was satisfaction in helping him without taking over. It felt different from rescuing, though the border was thinner than I liked. At work, Linda continued treating me exactly the same way she had before I refused the promotion. She included me in regional calls, asked my opinion on staffing problems, and handed me a travel reimbursement policy to review without comment. On Friday, I put it back on her desk. "Is the position filled?" I asked. She looked up from her computer. "No, I thought it was gone." "You said no." The position did not dissolve from sadness. "Are you interviewing?" "I have 3 external candidates." My stomach tightened. Linda removed her glasses. "Do you want me to stop?" "I don't know. That is not one of the available answers. I turned it down twice." "Yes. You should probably consider that a pattern. I consider it information." I sat in the chair opposite her desk. She waited. "The travel was the problem," I said. "I know. My parents depend on me. I know that too. They're learning not to. That sounds healthy. It feels hostile. Most change is due to the people who benefited from the old arrangement." I looked at her. She put her glasses back on. That was not management advice. That was being 57. What would I have to do? The same job description you already read. 4 practices, 2 or 3 nights away most months, more during annual planning, less if you hire competent office managers instead of doing everyone's work for them. That last part felt targeted. It was. "When do you need an answer?" "Before I schedule second interviews." "When is that?" "Monday." I nodded and stood. "Rachel," she said. I turned. "If the answer is no, let it be your no." The folder was still on my kitchen counter when Dad called Saturday morning. "Coffee," he said. "I'm drinking coffee. Not at your house. Are you inviting me somewhere?" "There's a diner by the hardware store." "I know. 10 o'clock. Do you need a ride?" "No. Does Mom? She's getting her hair cut." "What's wrong?" "Nothing. You've never invited me to coffee by saying the word coffee like a subpoena." 10 o'clock, he repeated. He was already in a booth when I arrived, stirring sugar into a cup he claimed to drink black. He wore his old canvas jacket and had the blue folder beside him. I looked at it. "Car insurance papers," he said. "I'm stopping at the agent's office. You don't have to defend the folder." You looked at it. I have eyes. Very judgmental eyes. I slid into the booth. A waitress brought me coffee without asking because Dad had ordered it. He had also ordered toast for both of us. "You're eating," I said. "I have to sustain myself through a conversation. Should I be frightened? Probably." He waited until the waitress left, then turned his coffee cup slowly between both hands. I believed him for about 30 seconds, he said. I did not pretend not to know who he meant. "Maybe a minute," he continued. "Not that you stole it. That there could be some explanation where you used the card and didn't tell me. For appliances delivered to Tyler?" I said it didn't make sense. "You said that after Mom proved I wasn't there." Dad looked down at the coffee. "I've been trying to decide why I asked you before I asked him. And," he was already angry, "so were you, I know." The waitress returned with toast. Dad waited until she set down the plates and walked away. "When Tyler gets cornered, he leaves," he said. "He quits jobs, stops answering, doesn't come around for months. Your mother starts imagining him dead in a ditch, and then I have to live with that. So you didn't push him. I pushed you. Yes." He picked up a piece of toast, then put it back down. "I knew you'd still be there," he said. The diner noise seemed to recede. Cups clinked. Someone laughed near the register. A blender started behind the counter. Dad rubbed his thumb over a chip in the plate. "That's the ugly truth," he said. "I thought I could ask you anything, even something insulting, and you'd get mad, prove me wrong, and still take me to blood work Tuesday." I swallowed. "And Tyler?" "I thought if I accused him and I was wrong, he'd disappear. If I accused him and I was right, he might disappear anyway. So I was cheaper to lose. No, safer to hurt then." His eyes lifted to mine. "Yes," he said. The word went straight through me. I had wanted him to understand. I had imagined relief arriving with the admission. Instead, I wanted to push back from the table and run before he could put anything softer around it. Dad's voice roughened. "I'm sorry." I looked out the window at the parking lot. A woman was loading bags of mulch into the trunk of a sedan while a man held the cart and offered commentary. "I'm sorry I asked you," Dad said. "I'm sorry I made Tyler's lie your job to disprove. And I'm sorry I watched him confess, then talked about the money like that was the only thing he took." I pressed my tongue against the back of my teeth. "I don't know what to do with that yet," I said. "You don't have to do anything. Mom thinks apologies are down payments. I'm not your mother. No, you make toast subpoenas." He almost smiled, but didn't. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today," he said. I wanted to say it without needing a ride home. "How are you getting home?" "My car. Your foot?" "Fine." I nodded. He pushed the toast plate toward me. "Eat." I took a piece because refusing would have turned bread into a referendum. We sat quietly for a while. Then Dad tapped the edge of the operations folder sticking out of my bag. "You carry that everywhere now? I have to decide by Monday." "The job?" "Yes." "What changed?" I did. He nodded as though that answer made more sense than any explanation. "Take it," he said. "I'm not asking permission. I know I might say no. Then say no because you hate dental offices in 3 additional zip codes. 4 practices total. That's too many teeth." I smiled despite myself. On Monday morning, I went into Linda's office before I could perform another week of private arguments. "I want the job," I said. She opened a drawer and took out a clean copy of the offer. "Good. That's it? You were expecting balloons?" Maybe mild surprise. I stopped scheduling interviews Friday afternoon. I stared at her. That was presumptuous. That was management. I signed the offer. My first overnight trip was scheduled for the following month. I told Denise. I told Dad. I did not tell Mom until she called to ask whether I could drive her and Dad to a cardiology appointment on the same day I would be in Indianapolis. When I said I couldn't, she went silent. Then she asked, "What do you mean, Indianapolis?" I accepted the operations director position. When? Monday. This Monday? There has only been one Monday since we last spoke. You spoke to your father. He knew I was deciding. And I didn't? You knew they offered it. I knew you declined it. I changed my mind. Mom went quiet again. I could hear the television behind her and Dad opening a cabinet. The Indianapolis trip is overnight? She asked. Yes. By yourself? I'm 38. That was not my question. Yes, by myself. And you'll be doing this regularly? 2 or 3 nights most months. What if something happens? Something is always happening. That isn't an answer. It's the answer I have. She breathed into the phone. Your father's appointment was scheduled before you accepted. It was scheduled before you asked me to drive. We assumed... I know. Dad said something in the background. Mom covered the phone, but not well enough. She's going to Indianapolis. I know, he said. You knew about the trip? I knew there would be trips. You might have shared that. She told me in a diner. I didn't realize it was classified information. Mom came back on the line. Your father says he can drive. His appointment is at the hospital downtown. I'm aware of where the cardiologist works. You hate that garage. I dislike that garage. Hate is a childish word. Use valet. I am not handing my car to a stranger, Dad said. I'll hand it to him. They changed the radio station. I'll survive. Mom's voice sharpened. You're both enjoying this. I'm really not, I said. When do you leave? Wednesday morning. And the appointment is Thursday. Yes. So you won't even be in the state. That's usually how travel works. She hung up. Dad called 30 seconds later. Your mother wants to know what hotel. She can ask me. She says she did. She asked if I'd be alone. What hotel? I told him. What time are you leaving? Dad, I'm making conversation. You are collecting data for Mom. I'm a married man. There's overlap. I gave him my departure time and immediately resented myself. Then he said, Congratulations. The resentment loosened. Thank you. Don't let them make you responsible for every office. That is dangerously relevant advice. I've been listening. Wednesday morning, I packed 1 suitcase, my laptop, 2 pairs of shoes, and enough emergency medication to survive being stranded in Indiana through winter. I did not stop at my parents' house. I did not call to make sure Dad's appointment folder was ready. I did not remind Mom that valet parking accepted cards. At the state line, I pulled into a rest area and checked my phone. No missed calls. The Indianapolis office had 87 employees, 6 dentists, and a front desk system built out of sticky notes and optimism. By noon, I had met with the practice manager, watched 2 receptionists argue about who had moved the stapler, and discovered that their supply orders were being sent to the wrong location because someone had entered the previous manager's home address into a billing field. I fixed none of it personally. I assigned the manager to correct the address, asked the reception lead to create a shared supply station, and left the stapler dispute where it belonged. At 3, Linda called. How many things have you done yourself? She asked. 1. What? I moved a box out of a doorway. Acceptable. How many things did you want to do yourself? All of them. Also acceptable. After work, I checked into the hotel. The room was bland and quiet, with a framed photograph of a bridge no one would recognize. I ordered room service, opened my laptop, and worked until my eyes hurt. At 9, Mom sent a picture of Dad's blue folder on the kitchen counter. Ready for tomorrow. I replied with a thumbs up. She sent another message. Tyler says he can meet us after the appointment if necessary. I did not ask what might make it necessary. At 10:15 the next morning, while I was in a staffing meeting, my watch vibrated against my wrist. Mom. I turned the screen away. At 10:17, she called again. I excused myself and stepped into the hall. What happened? We used valet. I waited. That's why you called twice? The first call was accidental. And the second? Your father said you'd want to know. Through the phone, Dad said, I said she would laugh. I closed my eyes. Did they change the radio station? They moved the seat. That seems survivable. It took me 3 minutes to find the lever. Did Dad make it to the appointment? He is sitting beside me. Then I have to go. Mom lowered her voice. You sound busy. I am busy. Oh. The single syllable held more surprise than I wanted to examine. I'll call tonight, I said. You don't have to. I know. When I returned to the meeting, nobody had collapsed. The practice manager had continued without me and made a decision I would not have made but could live with. That felt important. Dad's appointment went well. Mom drove home using streets she claimed not to know and picked up lunch without consulting me. The valet had not stolen the car, altered the radio, or damaged the fabric of their marriage. I stayed in Indianapolis a second night because a training session had been moved. When I told Mom, she said, "All right," instead of asking whether the hotel was safe. On Friday, I returned home to a refrigerator containing nothing useful. My first instinct was to order groceries for my parents before buying my own. I caught myself with the app open to their saved address. I deleted the items and drove to the store. The next afternoon, Tyler's car was in my parents' driveway when I stopped by. I had not announced the visit. That was one of my new rules, too. If I was visiting as a daughter, I did not need to schedule myself like a repair service. Tyler stood in the kitchen holding Dad's phone and arguing with an automated insurance menu. I have entered the date of birth 3 times, he said into the speaker. How many birthdays do you think he has? The automated voice replied, I'm sorry. I didn't understand. I know the feeling. Mom sat at the table sorting receipts. Dad was in the recliner pretending not to listen. Tyler looked at me. Thank God. I'm just visiting. Can you make this thing recognize Dad's birthday? No. Why not? Because you appear to be doing a beautiful job. He covered the phone. I have been on hold for 26 minutes. I believe in you. Rachel. Dad called from the living room. Don't let her touch it. Tyler stared toward him. I wasn't going to let her touch it. I was asking for guidance. You said thank God, I reminded him. I was expressing general religious relief. The automated voice asked whether he wanted to return to the main menu. Tyler made a sound from somewhere deep in his chest and pressed 0 repeatedly. Mom looked at me. How was Indiana? Busy. The hotel looked nice. How do you know? Your father showed me the website. Dad lowered the volume on the television. We were curious. You could have asked for a picture. We didn't want to bother you, Mom said. The phrase was so familiar that hearing it used correctly felt almost suspicious. I sat at the kitchen table. Mom held up a receipt. Do you remember whether your father's prescription plan reimburses mileage? No, you used to know, probably because I looked it up. Tyler thrust one finger into the air. A human voice had finally answered. Yes, hi, he said. I need to ask about a claim for Martin Mercer. Dad shouted his member number from the living room. Not your Social Security number, Mom shouted back. I know the difference. You gave a waiter your Medicare card last month. It was blue. Tyler covered his free ear. I'm living in a vaudeville act. I smiled. He stayed on the phone another 19 minutes. When he finished, he placed Dad's phone on the table and let his forehead fall beside it. They're mailing the form, he said. Good job, Mom told him. He lifted his head. That's it. What do you want? A parade, a plaque, one of those giant checks. You haven't paid off the small check, Dad said. Tyler sat upright. Can you not? I'm keeping perspective. I came here on Saturday to spend 45 minutes arguing with a machine for your reimbursement. I didn't ask you to. Mom did. Mom stacked the receipts more neatly. I asked if you had time. You said Dad's claim would expire. It will. In 4 months. I didn't know when you would be free again. Tyler looked at me. For the first time, his face held no accusation, only dawning exhaustion. How did you do this? He asked. Which part? All of it. The pharmacy, insurance, rides, food, appointments. Every time I come over, there are 6 more things. I did them one at a time, and nobody said thank you. Mom looked hurt. I thanked her. You thanked her by asking if she could do something else while she was already out. I did not. You did that to me yesterday. I picked up the prescription and you asked me to stop for milk. You were passing the store. Tyler stared at her. I had to look away so I would not laugh. Mom saw me. Don't encourage him. I didn't say anything. You have a very expressive neck. Dad came into the kitchen carrying his empty water glass. She gets that from you. Mom gathered the receipts. I have never been criticized for my neck in my own home. She left the room with more dignity than the sentence deserved. Tyler watched her go. I need to apologize to you, he said quietly. I looked at him. For the phone call, he added, the one where I said your work was easier to move around, you need to apologize for a longer list than that. I know. I'm starting with one I understand better now. Dad filled his glass at the sink and said nothing. I nodded. Okay. Tyler leaned back. That's all? What do you want, a parade? He smiled, then stopped himself. No, he said. I guess not. Mom called from the dining room that she was making dinner. I stayed. Not because anyone needed me to fix something, not because the refrigerator was empty or Dad required a ride. I stayed because Mom had made meatloaf and because Tyler looked like he had been mugged by an insurance company. The meal was almost normal. That made it more dangerous. Mom began talking about Memorial Day before we finished eating. She wanted all 4 of us together. Mallory, too, if Mallory was ready to be reasonable. Tyler put down his fork. Don't say that. Mom blinked. Say what? She's not being unreasonable. I meant ready to be around everyone, then say that. Mom glanced at me as if I had trained him. I thought a family dinner might help, she said. Dad cut his meatloaf. Might help whom? All of us. No one has asked for one. I am asking now. She looked at me. Will you come? I knew what she wanted. A table full of people. Food moving from hand to hand. Tyler and me making jokes. Mallory wearing her ring. Dad complaining about salt. A photograph that proved the crisis had passed. I'll come if it's just us, I said. Tyler's eyes lifted. Mallory decides for herself, I added, and nobody uses dinner to pressure her. Mom's mouth tightened. I wasn't going to pressure anyone. Then we agree. She looked at Dad. He took a bite and chewed slowly. Memorial Day, he said. 6 o'clock. The date went on to Mom's calendar. For the next 2 weeks, every conversation bent toward it. Mom planned food. Dad warned her not to plan symbolism. Tyler said Mallory probably wouldn't come, then said she might, then stopped speaking for her entirely. The afternoon before the dinner, Mallory called me. I'm coming, she said. Are you sure? No. That's probably the honest answer. I don't want Tyler thinking it means the wedding is back on. Tell him. I did. And he said he understands. Does he? No. Neither did Mom. When I arrived the next evening, there were 6 places set at the table and cherry blossom branches in a vase at the center. Dad looked at them and muttered, Expensive. They're from the backyard, Mom said. That tree has never bloomed. They're artificial. Then they're expensive forever. Tyler arrived alone. Mallory was 20 minutes late. By the time the doorbell rang, Mom had reheated the potatoes twice. Dad had eaten 3 rolls, and Tyler had checked his phone 14 times. Mom opened the door. Mallory stepped inside without her engagement ring. Mom's eyes went straight to Mallory's left hand. She recovered quickly, but not quickly enough. You made it, she said. I said I would. Yes, of course. Come in. Mom hugged her with both arms. Mallory accepted the hug without returning it at first, then placed one hand lightly between Mom's shoulder blades. Tyler stood near the dining room. He had worn a white button-down shirt and shaved. The effort made him look younger and more frightened. Hey, he said. Hi. He stepped forward as if to hug her, but Mallory moved toward the coat hooks. Tyler stopped, turned the aborted motion into straightening his sleeve, and smiled at no one. Dad came in from the kitchen carrying a basket of rolls. Dinner's getting cold, he announced. Mom looked at him. You could say hello. I already said hello when I opened the door for Rachel. To Mallory. Dad shifted the basket to one hand. Hello, Mallory. Hi, Martin. I'm glad you came. Thank you. He nodded, relieved to have completed his assignment, and returned to the kitchen. At the table, Mom had seated Tyler and Mallory beside each other. Mallory switched her water glass with mine and sat across from him instead. Mom noticed. Mom noticed everything. The problem was what she did after. She carried in the pot roast and began serving portions no one had requested. Dad objected to the size of his. "I'm not eating all that. You had 3 rolls. Rolls are air. They are bread. Bread with aspirations." Mallory smiled. Tyler saw and smiled too. His expression said, "See? We're still here? We can still do this." Mom passed the green beans. For the first several minutes, we discussed safe subjects. Dad's printer, my Indianapolis trip. Mallory's hotel had hosted a veterinary conference where someone brought a miniature horse into a freight elevator without permission. "Was it sick?" Dad asked. "It was an emotional support animal." Dad looked at me. "A horse. Don't involve me. They make dogs. They don't make them. Dogs occur naturally." Mom closed her eyes briefly. "Can we have one dinner without debating the existence of animals?" "No," Tyler said. Mallory laughed before she could stop herself. Tyler leaned forward. "Remember that wedding where the bride had 2 goats? They were part of the photographs. One ate a boutonniere. The groomsmen shouldn't have knelt down. You defended the goat for 3 weeks. The goat was behaving consistently with being a goat." Their eyes met. For a second, affection moved between them without asking anyone's permission. Then Tyler glanced at her bare hand. Mallory picked up her water. Mom served more potatoes. I could feel the whole table straining to pretend it had not seen. "How is counseling?" Mom asked. Tyler's fork stopped. "Janice," Dad said. "What? They're adults." Mallory set down her glass. "It's difficult, but helpful? Sometimes." Mom nodded as though this were encouraging medical news. "That's good. Talking things through can make such a difference." Tyler looked at me. I looked at my plate. "Mom," he said, "we're not giving progress reports. I didn't ask for a report. You asked how counseling is going. That is conversation. It's not dinner, conversation." "All right." She folded her napkin. I was expressing interest. Mallory said, "It's okay." "No, it isn't," Tyler replied. "Everybody's been inside our relationship for 2 months." Dad put down his fork. "You brought everybody in." "I know." "Then stop acting like we climbed through a window." I said, "I know." Mom touched Dad's wrist. "We are not doing this. We're already doing it," I said. 5 faces turned toward me. I ate a green bean. Mallory's mouth twitched. Mom sat straighter. "I invited everyone because I thought it would be good to remember that we are a family." "We remember," Tyler said. "Do we?" "Half the time, no one answers their phone. Rachel has to schedule visits between cities. You're sleeping here 3 nights a week, but you come and go through the garage like someone avoiding a landlord. Mallory has barely spoken to us." Mallory looked at her. I didn't know what to say. You could say anything. I didn't want every conversation to become a campaign for Tyler. Mom's expression changed. "I have never pressured you. You told me relationships survive worse." "That's true. You sent me your marriage counselor's phone number. That was a resource. You mailed me a magazine article called Rebuilding Trust After Financial Betrayal." Dad turned to Mom. "You mailed an article? She likes physical copies. I work at a hotel. I know how links function." Mom's cheeks flushed. I was trying to help. Mallory softened. "I know. But every helpful thing was also telling me what outcome would make you comfortable." No one spoke. Mom looked down at her plate. Tyler said, "She does that." Mom's head snapped up. "I beg your pardon?" "You do. You act neutral, but there's always a correct answer. I have spent 2 months trying to keep this family from disintegrating." Dad muttered, "That's going well." "Martin." I'm agreeing with the room. Mom pushed back her chair, then pulled it forward again. "Fine. I will say nothing else." "That's not what she asked," I said. Mom looked at me. "I did not realize I was being reviewed by a committee." "You invited the committee." Tyler laughed. It slipped out of him, quick and genuine. Mom glared, which made Dad laugh too. Even Mallory smiled. For 10 seconds, the pressure broke. Then Tyler reached across the table for the rolls and said, "See? We can still have a normal dinner." Mallory's smile faded. "Normal isn't the goal," she said. "What is?" "Honest would be a start." "I've been honest." She looked at him. "Since," he added. "I've been honest since. Mostly." "What haven't I been honest about?" "You told your mother I was considering moving back." Tyler glanced at Mom. "You said you might." "I said I might pick up the rest of my clothes." "That's not what I heard. That is exactly what I said. I misunderstood." Mallory leaned back. "You misunderstand in your own favor. A lot." His face hardened. "That's not fair. It's accurate. I have done everything you asked. Counseling, payments. I gave you access to my accounts. I didn't ask for access. You handed me passwords like they were proof you'd changed. What else am I supposed to do? Stop making me supervise your honesty." Tyler looked around the table. "Does anyone else want to take a shot?" Dad stared at the gravy. Mom said, "No one is attacking you." "Right. This is support." "You hurt people," I said. "They get to be changed by it." He turned to me. "You've made sure of that." I set down my fork. "Tyler," Dad warned. "No." She wanted honesty. "I didn't say anything about you until now. You don't have to. Everything in this family is arranged around your feelings now." I almost laughed. "My feelings?" "Mom can't ask you for a ride without rehearsing. Dad calls you to report that he doesn't need anything. I spend every free day over here doing errands because you decided to resign from the family. I accepted a different job. You know what I mean?" "I'm not sure you do." He leaned toward me. "You've punished everyone long enough." The sentence settled over the table. Mom inhaled. "Rachel, sometimes it does feel." She stopped. Tyler looked at her, waiting. So did I. Mom's hand lay beside her plate, fingers curled against the tablecloth. She looked at Tyler's face, then at mine. Her eyes moved to the artificial cherry blossoms between us. "No," she said. Tyler frowned. "No what?" "No, I'm not doing that again." "Doing what?" "Making her responsible for how we feel about what you did." He sat back. "I'm not making her responsible. You just said she was punishing us. She is. She stopped doing things we should have learned to do ourselves. She cut everybody off." "She answers my calls," Dad said. Mom glanced at him. "Eventually." "That's fair." Tyler looked from one parent to the other. "Are you serious?" Mom's voice shook, but it did not soften. "You did not make one mistake." The words echoed the driveway so exactly I felt them before I understood. "You took the card number," she continued. "You bought the appliances. You lied to Mallory. You blamed Rachel. Then you lied about canceling the washer and dryer because you wanted another month where no one was angry with you. I'm paying Dad back. This is not about the payment." Dad looked at her. Mom saw it and gave a small, humorless laugh. "Apparently, I'm late." Tyler's face reddened. "I said I was sorry. You said Rachel would be okay. She is okay." "No." Mom looked at me. "She is functioning. We have spent years confusing that with okay. I couldn't breathe normally." Tyler shook his head. "So now everything is my fault." "That is another thing you do," Mom said. "You turn responsibility into persecution so someone will rescue you. Who taught me that?" The question was meant to wound her. It did. Mom's mouth tightened, but she nodded. "We did." Dad looked down. Mom pressed both palms flat against the table as if she needed to feel something solid. "We taught you Rachel was the safest person to hurt," she said. "We protected you from consequences because we were afraid you would leave, and we leaned on her because we knew she wouldn't. Then we acted surprised when you made the same calculation." Tyler stared at her. Mallory covered her mouth with one hand. Mom's eyes filled, but her voice held. "You chose your sister because this family taught you she could absorb it. That's what she told you to say?" I flinched. Mom did not. She didn't have to. You've been talking about me behind my back. No, I have been listening when you talk in front of me. Tyler stood. His chair struck the wall. Dad said his name. Tyler looked at him. You gonna join in? Dad met his eyes. Your mother is right. Great. You can be angry. Thank you for permission. You cannot keep using anger as transportation. Tyler grabbed his keys from the counter. Mallory remained seated. He looked at her. Are you coming? No. His face went still. Of course, he said. Tyler, no, it's clear. Everybody got together and decided who I am. You decided, Mallory said quietly. We're reacting. He left. The front door shut without slamming. Mom stared toward the hallway. Every muscle in her body seemed aimed at getting up. She stayed seated. That might have been the hardest thing she had ever done. Dad reached for her hand. This time she took it. For several minutes, none of us spoke. Then Dad looked at the untouched pot roast. Well, he said, the potatoes are cold again. Mom began to laugh. It came out broken, tangled with crying. Mallory laughed too, then covered her face. I felt something rise in me that was neither relief nor grief, but had pieces of both. Dad stood to reheat the potatoes. I can do it, I said automatically. 3 people looked at me. I sat back down. Dad carried the bowl to the microwave. Mom wiped her eyes with her napkin. Thank you. For what? For sitting. Mallory stayed through coffee. She did not put her ring back on. When she left, she hugged Mom first, then Dad, then me. At the door, she told us she would contact Tyler when she was ready. Mom did not offer an article. Afterward, Dad began clearing plates. I picked up 2, and Mom touched my wrist. Leave them. I'm not proving anything. I can carry plates. I know. Her hand fell away. We cleaned together, none of us keeping score successfully. At the sink, Mom said, I almost followed him. I know, I wanted to. I know that too. What if he doesn't come back? The fear in her voice was old and real. I could not argue it away. Then you'll be sad, I said. But you won't trade me for his return. She looked at the water running over her hands. No, she said. It was not a promise I completely trusted. It was the first one she had made in the right direction. Tyler stayed gone for 6 days. Mom knew where he was because Mallory's sister had seen his car outside Brent's apartment. She did not call Brent. She did not drive by. She told me these facts 3 times, each time as though the restraint should earn interest. On the 7th day, Tyler came to return Mom's spare key. The red heart was gone, so he had attached a strip of blue painter's tape and written parents in block letters. Dad took the key, removed the tape, and placed it in the wooden organizer. Why'd you take the label off? Tyler asked. I know where I live. Mom made coffee. No one mentioned the ceramic frog. I wasn't there, but Dad told me about it that evening. He had started calling on Thursdays, usually around 7. We never formally agreed on the day. It just became ours. Did he apologize? I asked. To your mother? For leaving? For being rude at dinner? That sounds efficient. He's still angry with you, I assumed. Dad was quiet. What? I asked. I told him he can be angry and still make his payment. 300? 4 this month. What happened to 3? He sold the motorcycle. The one that didn't run? A man in Dayton thinks it can. Hope is beautiful. Dad laughed. Tyler said he'll call you when he's ready. I'm not waiting near the phone. I didn't tell you to. I know. That was one of the differences between us now. Dad had learned that information did not always require action. I was learning not to hear every fact as an assignment. Tyler called on Sunday. I'm not ready, he said. Dad said you were going to call when you were. He shouldn't have told you. I agree. There was a pause. I didn't know how to start, he said. You started by announcing you weren't ready. Seemed honest. Continue. He breathed out. I'm sorry I blamed you. I waited. I'm sorry I made up the date. And the conversation, and the part about seeing you at the organizer. Okay. I knew Dad might believe it for a minute. That was new. My grip tightened around the phone. You said you knew nobody would believe you stole from him. I was trying to make it sound less bad. It made it worse. I know. He spoke more slowly than usual, as if each sentence had to clear something before it came out. I picked you because Dad trusts you, he said. I thought if I made the story specific enough, he'd get confused. Then you'd prove it wasn't you, and the bank would reverse the charge, and I'd have more time. The bank wouldn't reverse a charge because you accused me at dinner. I wasn't thinking past the first 10 minutes. You thought through several details. I thought through the lie, not the consequences. That sounded true. Mallory says that's my pattern, he continued. I plan how to escape the room, not what happens after I leave. Is she coming back? I don't know. Then stop asking everyone else. I didn't ask. You wanted me to tell you. He made an aggravated sound, then stopped. Okay, he said. I wanted you to tell me. I can't, I know. We were quiet. I sold the bike, he said. I heard. Dad has 400. I heard that too. He says I'm not allowed to borrow from them until the balance is paid. That seems reasonable. He canceled the card. That also seems reasonable. I didn't ask for your opinion. You called me. Another pause. I miss you, he said. The sentence reached for the part of me that still remembered the larger half of the cookie, the snowstorm, the colander on his head in Mallory's kitchen. I miss you too, I said. So what do we do? I don't know. Can I come over? Not today. Next weekend? Ask me next weekend. He was silent long enough that I expected an argument. Okay, he said. It was not forgiveness. It was one request answered honestly and one no accepted without punishment. For us, that counted as new behavior. Mallory moved the rest of her things out of the townhouse. She and Tyler continued counseling for another month. Then she began going alone. She did not announce that the engagement was over. She said it was postponed indefinitely, which Mom privately called the same thing with better stationery. I told Mom not to say that to Mallory. I wouldn't. You mailed her a magazine. I have apologized for the magazine. You expressed regret about the postage. It was expensive. The installed appliances remained in the townhouse. Tyler could not return them, so Dad's payment schedule stayed taped inside the kitchen cabinet where the emergency note about calling me used to be. Mom had removed that note. In its place, she taped a list of account numbers, medications, and phone contacts. At the bottom, in her handwriting, it said, "Call the appropriate person. I found it while looking for tea. Who is the appropriate person?" I asked. It depends on the problem. That's dangerously sensible. Your father wanted me to write, "Do not automatically call Rachel." Dad shouted from the living room. It was clearer. Mom lowered her voice. I didn't want you to think we were being dramatic. You hid the house key under a ceramic frog. We contain multitudes. I stared at her. Denise said that, Mom admitted. When were you talking to Denise? She called about your birthday. My birthday is in October. She plans ahead. I put the kettle on. The house had changed in small, almost irritating ways. Dad's prescription bottles were arranged in a weekly tray he filled himself every Sunday. Mom had learned to use the pharmacy app and now complained that it asked for her password too often. They paid for their own groceries. The first month without my transfer, Mom mailed me a check for $250 with groceries written in the memo line. I called her. What is this? A repayment. For 1 month? A symbolic repayment. I don't want symbols. Well, I'm not writing 48 checks. Then don't. Your father says we should pay you back over time. I told him no. He does not consider that binding. Mom. We can discuss it later. I tore up the check. She sent another one the next month. I stopped fighting and deposited it. My new job became busy enough that I occasionally forgot what city I was waking up in. I hired a manager for an office where the previous manager had been doing payroll from a folding card table. I mediated an argument between 2 dentists about a parking space. I learned that every practice had one employee who knew how everything actually worked and had never been given the correct title. I started looking for those people before I looked for problems. On my second trip to Indianapolis, Mom sent one message. Have a good drive. No weather report. No reminder to call. No question about the hotel. I still checked my phone at the state line. That part of me did not disappear. It just stopped running the schedule. Dad's heart continued to improve. He walked more, complained more, and eventually admitted the brown recliner was comfortable, while maintaining it was ugly enough to lower the value of the house. Tyler handled most of his appointments. He became good at it, then resentful, then better, after he admitted the resentment. One afternoon, he called while sitting in the hospital garage. Dad has been discussing valve replacements with a stranger for 20 minutes, he said. Has the stranger had one? No. His brother-in-law. Then they're just getting started. I'm going to lose my mind. You could wait in the car. Mom says that's disrespectful. Mom isn't there. He went quiet. Oh, he said. You're welcome. He laughed. Our conversations remained short. He came to my house twice. The first time, he spent an hour helping me move a bookcase and did not mention Mallory. The second time, he asked whether I had forgiven him. No, I said. His face fell. I'm working on knowing you again, I added. That sounds worse. It's more honest. He nodded, though he did not like it. When Mom invited both of us for the 4th of July, Tyler said he was tired of holidays feeling like monitored visits and wanted everyone to act normal. I declined. Mom did not argue. Dad dropped off a plate of barbecue the next day and left it on my porch without using a key he no longer had. In August, Tyler made his 6th payment. He had picked up more hours and raised the amount to $500. He still owed Dad, still lived with the appliances, and still attended counseling. Mallory had dinner with him occasionally, but she kept the ring in a drawer at her sister's apartment. No one knew whether they would find their way back to each other. For once, we let not knowing remain their problem. Dad called me on a Saturday morning. Hardware store, he said. I smiled. You've become very economical with invitations. 11. Do you need me to pick you up? No. Is Mom going? She hates the hardware store. She hates that you spend 40 minutes comparing screws. There are important differences. Are you buying anything? Probably not. I met him near the garden entrance. He was already there, leaning against a cart he did not need. Tyler had dropped him off on his way to a sales appointment. Dad had arranged a ride home with Mom, who planned to meet him at the grocery store next door. You have transportation both directions, I said. I'm a modern man. We walked through the plumbing aisle, electrical, paint, and tools. Dad picked up a drill, criticized its battery, and put it back. He explained why every new lawnmower was inferior to one manufactured in 1987. I listened. Neither of us purchased anything. Near the lighting displays, he stopped beside a row of motion sensors. Your mother asked whether I thought you were still angry, he said. What did you tell her? That you are. I'm less angry. That's what I told her. He picked up a package and read the back. I don't expect things to go back, he said. Good. I miss some of it. So do I. He nodded. There was no speech, no request that I validate his progress or certify him forgiven. He put the motion sensor back and asked whether I wanted coffee. We met Mom at a cafe beside the grocery store. She had already ordered 3 drinks and placed mine at the empty chair. Dad complained that she had chosen a table too close to the door. You can sit somewhere else, she said. I just got here. Then you have plenty of energy. He carried his coffee to a table 6 feet away. Mom watched him go. He's been impossible since his blood pressure improved. That sounds like recovery. She smiled, then wrapped both hands around her cup. We talked about my job. She asked questions without treating my travel as an accusation. I told her about the office with the folding card table and the dentist who believes staff meetings should begin at 6:30 in the morning. She listened. After a while, she said, We miss how you used to take care of us. The sentence hurt, but not in the old way. It did not make me reach for my calendar. I need you to miss me, I said. Not my usefulness. Mom looked down at her coffee. Dad had stopped pretending not to listen from the next table. I do miss you, she said. Then ask me to come over when nothing is broken. I don't always know the difference. I know. She nodded slowly. I'm trying to learn it. We sat there until the coffee went cold. Mom asked whether I wanted to stay for dinner. She made the invitation cleanly without mentioning Dad's health, Tyler's loneliness, or groceries that needed carrying. I told her not tonight. She said, "All right." Dad drove home with her. I walked to my own car with my purse over my shoulder and my keys in my hand. For once, I was carrying nothing for anyone but myself.